I'd like to call to order and open this board meeting. Georgetown Divide Public Utilities District on June 13th, 2023 at 2:03 p.m. Roll the tape.
We're recording already.
All right. Real. Okay. At this point, I'd like to ask Mr. Stovall to read the Pledge of Allegiance.
I know I had to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
I like how you analyze it.
You got a curl in back there.
You look great, Mike. You look great.
It's your prettiest side.
I did get a haircut.
It's like when in high school, same thing.
May I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
We gotta do roll call first.
Yep. Roll call.
Director Stovall,
Present.
Director Saunders,
Present.
Treasurer Thornborough, Vice President Seaman.
Here.
And President McCombs.
Here. Make a motion to adopt.
I make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously 5-0.
Why are you looking at me?
Public forum. Pursuant to the Government Code Section 54954.3, the Brown Act, members of the public shall be afforded the opportunity to speak at any agenda item. Board President will call for public comment on each agenda item. Those wishing to address the board in the matter that is not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction authority of the district may do so during the public forum portion of the agenda. Follow the procedures below for speaking during public forum or public comment sessions. We don't have to put below. Public members desiring to provide comments must raise their hand and wait to be recognized by the board president. Speak from the podium and begin by stating their name. If participating via teleconference, please utilize the raise hand feature. The president will call upon you by addressing you by name or phone number indicated. Comments must be directed only to the board. Disruptive conduct shall be not be permitted at any board meeting. Persistence and disruptive conduct shall be grounds for summary termination of the privileges to address the board of directors. There is a 5-minute.
Nope, we changed
No, it's
that.
gonna be 3 minutes.
All right.
3 and 15 now.
3 and 15 total minutes for the public forum. The board is not permitted to take action on these items addressed under the public forum. The board president is responsible for maintaining an orderly meeting. At this point, we open to the public. Dorit.
This closed session meeting is still not following proper procedures of the California Brown Act. For my research, your posted closed meeting session number 54957 does not apply. The March meeting had no government code indicated. The March 25th on the same subject, or the same subject, had meeting code 54957B1. You are hiring a corporation, and a corporation cannot be an officer for the district, and therefore you have held these meetings in violation of the Brown Act. If you could hire Mr. Splendidero as the district's independent counsel instead of the BBK LLC firm, then section 54957 would apply. And I also request that this board put the RFPs of all the law firms that you interviewed in closed session into the public record on the next agenda to try to be transparent. And then I have something else that I discovered, that I reviewed the journal entries for the water district, and starting September 2022, I have found that HR is overpaying GM Snyder on his $6,000 car allowance that was included in his employment contract. There are 26 employee periods, and the $6,000 contract was divided by 24 pay periods, twice a month, and not the proper 26 pay periods. He has been paid $250 per pay period and should only have been paid approximately $230.77. The district has overpaid him for 7 of the 22 2022 pay periods by about $134.61, and as of 5/28/23 pay period, he has been overpaid by $211.53 in the 11/2023 pay periods. This error is corrected because it would be a gift of public funds to do otherwise. And I'm listing the journal entry showing what was paid out. He's been paid a total of $4,500. So there's errors in that contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's your copy.
Thank you.
What was that thing?
That was a 1 minute.
1 minute warning.
Oh, yeah, it's like a 10-second thing to fight.
There's a 1 minute 55.
The bell.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay. With that, we now adjourn to closed session. We'll be discussing the public employee interview.
Yeah.
And public employee appointment, potentially, and conference with legal counsel.
Go back to the policy.
Okay, we're now concluding, we have concluded the closed session portion and reopening the regular session of the Board of Directors meeting. And we came out of closed session with determination that the board hired unanimously as legal counsel BBK. And the general counsel will be Frank Splendorio. And this is all pending execution of a professional services agreement. Later this meeting. So moving forward. Consent calendar.
I just have one comment for the consent, not pulling anything, but just a comment that, if the consent calendar passes, that we once again make sure we have an email work group to keep tabs on what we're doing for 4th of July, so we can forward to that.
Yes, I will just, without discussing it further, we have a staff application and we will be working with the directors on coordinating 4th of July.
And it's usually just me and Jessica, because you guys are quiet in it. Jessica's like, oh no.
Yeah, Jessica can't help us this year. She's unfortunately predisposed.
Alexis did it.
Yeah, we tried to get her to get in the.
And then my mom's 4th of July parade.
Can
What?
I have a motion to accept the agenda or
The consent.
consent calendar?
Motion to accept consent calendar.
All in favor?
Aye.
Votes 5-0 unanimous support. Motion passes. Financial reports, budget to actuals through April.
Yeah, at this time, if you have any questions in regard to the financial reports for any A to D, we'd be happy to take them at this point. Director Stovall.
On page 1 of 9 of the budget report account summary. And first department, third line from the bottom, it talks about grant proceeds, 169,000. We have not received that as of this report. What's the status of that?
Which page are you on there?
Page 1 of 9.
The grant proceeds that we have received were for capital projects. So that is in a different line item. This is the water fund, so that would be in 111 grant proceeds.
I think it's the same fund. I don't think we have another 169,000 that's coming.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to where you're at, sorry. Hang on.
Page 1 of 9 of the first.
So if we look at page 4 of 9, under fund 111, capital reserves. There's a grant proceeds line there, that's where the current grant proceeds are being placed. Because they're due to our capital projects.
Yeah, I think, and it's 500,000 that we received, correct, from USBR.
We've gotten a little bit more since then, but it's not included in these reports because it came out after these were in.
Yeah.
It was about 550.
The 106, go ahead.
Yeah, if we could just line item somewhere what the grants are, that can help.
Yes, I think when we do grants, we need to have them as listed out. The 169, I think, was budgeted previous, and it was for the metering project to be broken into multiple years.
Okay. Actually, yeah, basically wanted to know the status of that, because according to this, it's still outstanding.
Yes, so the way this was set up is basically it's a. They put money in there, and then as it came in, it was supposed to be deducted. So that doesn't mean that there's actually funds in there. That was how much was budgeted for, the 169. We have not received any because it got put into the capital improvement projects as opposed to this fund. And we've made a new grants fund.
Sorry.
For the pool cash report for our supplemental charge. I know we're at a current balance of 1,066,000. Do we send the 655,000 each time, regardless of how much we have in based on that part of the fiscal year?
We just received the bill, so yes, we'll be sending in the 655.
So is there any reason for us to try and send in more if it's outside of the fiscal year to reduce the payment over time?
So we can look at that.
Amortization schedule, so it's all mapped out what we're supposed to pay.
But we could reduce our interest potentially if we could look at that. I know in the,
We do. And at 655, it's 580.
580.
we just received the bill. We just got it like today.
We made one payment in January, and then the next payment is on or before July 1st.
And so, yes, we can look at. If it's advantageous for us to pay that sooner. I know in the past. We have either refinanced or changed loans, not the district here, but in my experience. To receive better rates, better interest rates and sooner payouts. So that is definitely something we can explore.
But that is almost like a 1%.
Yeah, that's what if
It is, but you can still pay them off sooner and not have to. If you have enough money, you can pay them off sooner. There's still ways of getting lower interest rates.
my question is if it's a 1% loan and we're getting 4 to 5 right now. If we
Yes.
prepay something that we're getting 4 times the return on, then and benefit from the percent, we're not gonna pay in interest by prepaying.
It's probably not a benefit to us if we pay something off at 1%. Because it's free money at that point.
Right.
And I don't think we can invest any of that money anyway.
That's-
Yes, you can.
The money we're taking in for the supplemental fee.
Yes, you can. You can invest it as long as you are able to pay your bills on the time.
You just can't spend it on anything else.
Yeah, you have to have a fund that's separated specifically for that, but yes, as long as you do not invest more than your charge, like. If you got, what was the original loan for? It was like 9 million. Or was it more than that?
10.
As long as you don't invest more than the 10 million from the original loan, then you can. It's the way you can actually do it while you're building a while you're constructing a project. If you get money, you can actually invest that money.
Yeah, but that's all done. All that money's already been spent.
Sure. What he's saying is we're taking in more than we're paying out. So there's
Right.
money in a fund. It's a reserve fund for this payment. We can invest that reserve fund and make sure that we're building money on it still.
Yeah. So the difference, the delta would be about $10,000 ish if we invested it versus prepaid 1%.
Correct, yes. So it would not be advantageous to pay it off, but it would be advantageous to earn money on
Yeah.
the money that's there.
At least year by year, we have to look at it.
Well, we're getting around 53,000 a year more than we're having to pay out. So we took that and put it in there, but my question is gonna be, if I'm still around in those days. What's gonna happen to all this extra money?
It will, basically, when you get to the end, you pay it off when you have enough to pay it off. You can't keep collecting that money. If there is no loan to pay.
Okay, so if we have accumulated enough to say make a whole nother payment, then we can stop charging the customer sooner than
Correct.
plan.
That is correct.
Good to
And so-
know. I like
so-
that. Good.
And so if we generate interest on that money, we can pay that loan off sooner by generating the interest.
As long as we have a separate
And therefore-
accounting of that.
Okay, all right. I should do that then.
So maybe 2032 or 2033 instead of 2035, but
Yes,
2049.
And we could just keep track to that. In the,
yes, it's all part, it's all worked into a calculation based on the money that's invested, so yes.
Okay, so how much, do we know how much, it's probably in here? How much is in that account right now above and beyond what our annual payment is for this year?
So around 750, 800,000. It's a million, was it 1,000,001 right now, and we owe 290.
293.
Yeah.
And that money's just, where is it? As far as in an account, is it an interest bearing account or,
not this second, but in July it will be.
Yes,
okay,
it is, I think, just,
that's all right.
we have a special account for it, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's probably in life. Or it's savings account.
It's
Life,
there,
life short term is still pretty high too, but it, it's still better than 1%.
2%,
That
2%.
might can go in the long term.
I mean, if you're talking dollar to dollar money that's being deposited into our bank account, it's all in the savings.
It's likely we can earn even short-term money, 4 to 4.25% on it.
Yeah, we need to do that soon. That's good thinking there.
It's like, my mortgage is 3 1/8. Well, I don't want to prepay it if I'm getting 5.25 on the treasury. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Anybody else?
I forgot where we were at.
There are questions?
Financials report. I believe we have a question from the public.
Sheree?
Check number 34784 Cal Fire. Why would we be paying Cal Fire?
Well, as we're cruise.
Oh, the crew.
Yeah.
So, the Cal Fire, I'll forget that question I had. Okay, then 34798. The US Bank, why is it still like 9,000 to 10,000 all the time on the credit card? I thought they took one of the loan payments out of that, that's why it was so high before.
They do more operations, they use their credit card a lot.
So it's just office expense.
The other large expense in there.
Yeah, there was I'm trying to remember what it was too. I could, if you get, can
I'll do
you,
a PR.
yeah, that's.
And then 34799, Debbie Lacai's deals or something. Is that like a customer? Yeah.
What was the amount?
No, that's gravel.
It's 1931.
Okay,
For DDA is like rock and sand.
Okay. and then 34808, the Mesa Energy, is that for the solar panel?
It's an energy system.
34808,
Yeah.
That's for lighting upgrade and security camera upgrade. We are
that's just security camera?
in fixing the light.
I've noticed it's greater up there.
There's probably more to be done.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Moving right along to. Let's see. Board reports? Yes, Director Stovall.
I'd like to make a report basically when we get to the ad hoc grants committee.
To the what?
To the committee report for ad hoc grants.
Oh.
Summer, do you have any? Mention sure, we might guess the officers.
Is Nick, I informed Nick of this, do you wanna talk about it, the 2.8 or what?
I was gonna talk about my general manager report, but I can talk about it now.
You are talking about it in your,
I have a plan to, yes.
never mind, I'm nothing to say.
But I would love to hear it from you. That's why I put the board report first, because you're more important than I am. So please,
Yeah, but you're taking my stuff.
I'm not taking anything. I would love for you to talk about it. I was only gonna cover it if you did not.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, it turns out that this money that we got from the American Rescue Plan. Where the county got millions and millions, and we got like 50 grand. And Grizzly Flats got 2.8 million.
Huh?
And, oh, you want to hear one better? We got 50 grand, but the El Dorado County Fairgrounds got 100 grand.
400.
Yeah, but their water system's failing. I think that's.
It's on your agenda for tomorrow, 400,000.
It went to 400,000? That makes me better.
It's on your agenda for tomorrow.
Oh, it is? I don't look at that yet. Okay, good. Anyway. So this money has to be allocated and it has to be used by there's time limits. And apparently Grizzly Flats has been dropping the ball big time in getting all these things done that they need to get done in order to have this 2.8 million. So now the El Dorado Water Agency Board is looking at, we're gonna keep a close eye on this because if they don't get their ducks in a row, then we need to use that money for something else, meaning us, instead of Grizzly Flats. They'll lose the money and there'll be a chance of getting some. So our 50 grand may go up a little.
So, and just to make the board aware, internal discussions with staff have been to continue pipeline in the Upper Canal area. And we have some other ideas out, but yes, we are looking to spend as much of the 2.8 if it's available to us, and I will be at the El Dorado Water Agency meeting tomorrow to make a comment to that board in support of if they need to spend some money, we definitely can spend some money.
Yeah, because we're gonna need, if it is available to us, then we're gonna need to have a plan for what we can use that.
Yeah, and
use that money for.
So we have, what's that?
Oh, boots on the.
And I'll send you a copy. 'Cause
Ready
the
to go.
board,
Shovel ready.
the board did,
We will have a shovel ready probably.
the board did approve 1.8 million in projects the last time when you sent it in, so I'll send that copy to you.
It has to be specific projects.
Those were shovel ready projects in our CIP.
So no, they have to be, it's a fire related
Yes,
mitigation
Yes, it
project.
was based on the American Rescue Plan that we did it.
Okay.
What did Grizzly Flats do that we didn't?
Burned down.
They burned to the ground.
They have to get that, they have to get their project ready to roll, and they haven't.
They have some issues with staffing and some other
We didn't they had representation. We didn't. I mean, that's.
It's a lot of stuff.
Okay.
We kind of like that.
Okay.
we're rebuilding relationships.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Director Saunders. I mean,
Oh, wait, I got another thing. Ken Payne, who was the general manager for Edgewood, retired. And now is our interim general manager there, Rebecca.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. Real sharp too. Her resume is just unbelievable. So that should help in building better relationships.
And won't have to keep bringing up the fact that Juan Uso kicked him out of a board meeting when he came to present, so. At least so don't kick out the El Dorado Water.
Yeah.
Yes, so don't kick out the El Dorado Water Agency person or else we'll get no money.
Well, in addition to calling Ken in the middle of the night drunk all the time. No wonder.
So El Dorado LAFCO, I had a board meeting on 5/24, our budget committee meeting was on 6/12. And since that time, I was reelected as the alternate special district commissioner, so I'll serve from 2023 to 2027. The Regional Water Authority, we had our executive committee meeting on 5:30, our board meeting is tomorrow. And we talked about the groundwater stuff, and next minutes will attach the article that they put in from Source Magazine, and there's a copy up top if anyone wants to look at that. With the Association of California Water Agencies, and I have all this in there. There's Aqua Water Use Efficiency Work Group. We continue to work on those water budget stuff. We had our Region 3 pre-Aqua Board meeting and the Aqua Board meeting. The code of conduct that they were trying to put with Aqua, which had broad definitions, which kind of one language was anything which may disrupt or go against the conference or policies. That was kind of broad, so especially people in Region 3 were like, so if we're saying this doesn't have anything for fire mitigation, or we can't do this fleet stuff, that we can get kicked out of a conference. So we wanted to make sure to change the language so it wasn't censorship and only actually dealt with code of conduct issues. We have a Region 3 event planning meeting. We're planning to do a webinar for all of the districts in the regions for the water use efficiency. And for the next Aqua Conference Forum, we are doing a forum on operations emergency management. And they wanted to know if Adam Brown wanted to be a speaker on that, since he went through the mosquito fire with the operations for that.
What was it for again? I was.
Aqua Conference, the next Aqua Conference. So Region 3, we're putting on a conference, so we'll probably have Jim Abercrombie or his operations will get someone from EID, probably someone from Tahoe, and then we also brought up GDPUD since we went through this, dealing with getting in the operations room and having to get the water people on board earlier and all of those challenges we face. The Headwaters Work Group, finding it's been 3 years, but we're coming down to our drop-off sheet to give to Senate, legal, and federal, and there's a copy up there, and that finally is being done. And I have my interview with the election committee for the Aqua Vice President next week. With Mountain Counties, I'm going to the California United Water Conference. It's in Santa Clara, and I'll be attending that with our board president. That's the legislation.
Other than planning to attend the United Water Conference next week, I don't have anything else to report. Legislative liaison report, Michael.
So in the packet, there's a package, there's a governor's infrastructure streamlining package that Aqua's urged the members to sign on to. And you can see the 5 things that streamlines the process for documents that deals with SQL challenges, SQL administrative records, allows the DWR authority to utilize progressive design build, repeals classification of fully protected under the CESA, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, so we can get more projects done, and streamlines procedures with the Delta Stewardship Council. So Aqua is recommending that we join this coalition in support, and we've already the board liaison and GM agreed that this is something we should do, and we're bringing it to the board now for your support with this.
We did have a tight timeline on signing on to that, so unfortunately it did not come to the board to vote for. It's all is in support of infrastructure streamlining, so it makes projects go faster. It's nothing that is controversial.
And then the new discussion items.
Kind of sort of. It's not circumvention. It's a streamline of the process. It's
Circumvent.
That's a bad word. That's a 4-letter word.
It's like what happened to NEPA in a previous administration where they streamlined everything and minimized timelines.
Yeah,
tightened up
you
timelines.
still have to do everything. It just makes people move faster.
Yeah, where they cut down timelines. So there's a required amount of time that somebody has to get any IR done. And it has to be done, ready to roll within 180 days, where before it could go on for years.
And then the paper I gave you today shows some legislative updates, so we consider doing a formal action at the next meeting on these 2 bills. So one is Assembly Bill 676. And the other one is Assembly Bill 1572. So 676 changes the water code to define what domestic use of water is. So they put in certain guidelines, and it also adds things to look at the highest users of water. So this is something that we would recommend opposing, because Once you start putting in definitions of water, then anything outside of those definitions would be considered illegal. And then AB 1572, this is a bill that says that prohibits the use of potable water for irrigation of non-functional turf located on commercial, industrial, municipal, institutional, and multifamily residential properties. The other problem is the bill would authorize the public water systems, which would be us, to have to enforce that. So we would recommend opposing that and at least amending it if it passes that the state does the enforcement and not us. So that's putting additional work for us.
If you could indulge me for one moment as well. We've also been working on AB 754, which is Aqua has been putting some opposition towards. And this would change the way urban water management plans are conducted in the future and agricultural water management plans. So this is something that I have been working with Aqua on, and it's going to change drought plans, water shortage contingency planning methods, timelines, and how often we have to submit those things. So something I've been working on.
And the other problem with AB 754, the same water budget that it has for indoor, outdoor, we're trying to propose that for raw water as well. So that would be quite problematic.
Yeah, that's one of the it's for agriculture. We've been pushing back pretty hard. There's a
the fire mitigation factor, don't we?
Well, we haven't heard back from the state, but we did put a caveat in our urban water management plan that does spell out fire mitigation needs.
Sheree?
Just a question with what Michael was saying, would that pertain to ALT's golf course? They use treated water.
Golf courses are considered functional turf.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of
Functional turf is medians, parkways. You have like dress turf in front of like schools.
Yeah, so it's a
Dress
big
turf
problem
in
for
front
schools.
Or
like shopping centers.
There's a fountain in front of ALT. That would be
Fountain,
That's-
as long as it's a recirculating fountain, that does not count.
What about a baseball field, functional turf?
Anything that's recreational is functional. Soccer fields, baseball fields, football fields, golf courses, that's functional.
But like
Non-functional
decorative grass in front of schools, that would go.
When I used to do this down south, because I took a lot of grass out down there, one of the sayings I used was, if you only step on it to mow it, you don't need it.
Tell my wife that for years.
It is.
That's a waste of water.
Okay, so operations management report. Adam?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as production, you're starting to see our production pick up slightly. For this time of year, it's probably a little bit lower just because of the odd spring we're seeing here. Pretty cool and lower than normal temperatures.
Yeah.
And all these thunderstorms, pretty interesting. Nothing major report on the container front page there. Second page is covered some of the activities we did during the month of May. Third page is a map of kind of the ditch maintenance section. Was doesn't present very well, so I'm still working on 100% that a little bit better, but kind of like the blue highlighted section for some areas we worked on during the month of May. Obviously, that month too, we were getting ready for irrigation season, so we kind of finished up clearing the silt up in the upper canal and started running water for nearly half the month to get the water down the canals for customers. Couple challenges, a lot of growth this season, more than it seems like normal. So we've had some challenges, especially in the main ditch, making sure all our services are ready to go. Delivering water. Moving on through it, it's a couple of pictures of what some of the work we were doing. A couple of examples of culvert replacement. We took advantage of the canal on Kramer Road. They were doing the whole entire road there, and that canal that culvert was failing, so we decided to replace it away. The road was tore up, so we took advantage of that. So some of the automated meters, we had some leftover antennas, so we continue to add those 2 meters that are deeper in the ground, so we had assumes they're easier to read when we drive by them. We removed some trees at Walton Lake. Kind of on our, there are a few dead ones, and then there were some growing on our main pipeline from the tree line to the tanks. So we took to remove those to so we don't have any root infiltration problems with those trees. Really too many of them. We cleaned up a little bit. The main upcountry activity is working on the road slide near structure 5. So you can see a series of photos just from the beginning slide to kind of the progress, which was, working with Sierra Pacific to come up with a stockpile location, moving that dirt to that location, and then slowly benching up and installing geogrid along with the steps to for slope stability. We worked with our engineer to come up with a plan how to repair that. We just had a few guys up there for majority of May. They're finishing up now, so some resources away from running water down and get that repaired. It was good. The good timing. The dirt was good moisture consistency for good compaction, so we tried to take advantage of that.
Which slide you looking at?
6, 7, page 6, 7 there.
6, 7. Is that the aerial view? Is that, how do we get in those aerial views? Those are good.
Oh, that's this personal drone I have that.
Oh. Cool.
Some extra pictures, it's good to see. So we're wrapping that up now. We'll have some final pictures next month, so quite complete. But this is part of the larger emergency declaration of funding we received from. We haven't received it yet. We're doing the work, and we'll submit and they yes. Yes. So once we complete that, we'll get reimbursed for this. So we're probably around 75,000 total cost. Most of that back. So last thing on page 8 was there to do some more control. I didn't have any recent pictures when I put this packet together. Page 9 for the capital improvement program. Most of the stuff is actually just kind of wrapping up for the year for last year. So the paving project, I say completed, but all we have to do is there's some coating they put on top of it, and they're coming in early July to do that. Water line placement, we finished that. Water conditions assessment, we have to do our underground piping inspection. We plan to do that hopefully this month, for beginning of July. They went back up this last month and looked at the burn area, and they came up with a pretty good assessment that we're going to be using to hopefully go towards NRCS justification for funding up there, do some kind of erosion control this summer and fall. Working on that now as we speak. We completed the annual canal lining for this year. AMI don't have an update on the order. That last update was August, so we're still waiting on those meters. I'm sorry, that's the AMI structure. I don't have an update on that. I'll get next time. Pump stations, we're still working on that. Move forward with projects. We have those new CIP as well. We have some switches we need to replace in there. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll get that done. Next one is a graph. I'm going to show you just the difference, what we're seeing for the pump control valves that we've talked about a few times. We had them finally installed and programmed this last month. So you can see the green and blue, that's kind of what we were seeing before, those pressure swings, up to 50 PSI. And then we have the red line that shows, a 10% difference over a longer period. So we're really happy with the outcome of those pump control valves. I think it's going to really help the system. And I can see the kind of breaks we were seeing on, Kit Fox, Chimney Flat, campus kind of thing. We lost our pressure swings.
What's the red line represent?
It represents
Where are we at today?
PSI. Yeah.
PSI, the fluctuation from high to low.
Are those pump control valves considered pressure? Are those pressure regulating valves? Are they the same thing? I thought
They're very similar. They look different. They work the same. They kind of have a big disc inside that kind of opens and closes slowly.
Yeah.
They're a little different than like a regular PRV though.
Because the PRVs, those aren't electrically actuated, are
No,
they?
they're not. Yeah.
So they're basically mechanical,
It's controlled,
kind of like a big regulator.
it's controlled.
So really, the pump, each pump talks to each valve, so as the system doesn't demand any more water, the pumps start ramping, actually the valves start closing first, and then the pumps start come off after that. Because how the pumps are designed now, they can run against nothing, no flow basically, and they can still run, so the valve just slowly closes, and once it closes, the pump shut off. It keeps that pressure and that constant.
That doesn't, they're running against, it doesn't hurt the pump at all.
Nothing that pumps, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have is a picture of April 10th and May 10th, and then
Yeah.
June 7th, this is the same, this is comparing the,
Gets rid of the.
Yeah, so June
Yeah,
7th is
yeah.
post installation and programming, April and May are free, I should have put that on there. So you can see like as they shut off, you have those giant pressure swings on May 10th and April 10th,
nice.
June 7th after. You still have the pressure drop, but it's over a longer period, I mean, those are within seconds, those pressure swings from
Hmm.
155 to 105.
Yeah, dampens, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so. I think it's money well, not money well. spent.
And if it's before VFDs,
Yeah.
It's in lieu of right now.
because the VFDs are still,
We may explore VFDs as well, just to finish that curve. But right now,
frequency drive.
You're gonna have both,
ultimately, the original design called for both.
Yeah.
But
it did call for both,
correct,
$100,000
but they were both,
a pop.
And you're out.
yeah, but they were both removed due to cost.
What do you mean they were both removed?
They're
From
never
the
installed.
original plan, they were never installed at the pump, at the treatment plant.
Oh, so these were supposed to be installed in the treatment plant and somebody cut them,
Correct.
Yeah. Cut cost.
that's why we only have one tank.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
and no solar.
Solar on it.
No, I asked about it.
And here's something about solar.
Well, PG&E bills.
Director Saunders?
Yes, I had a couple, so we're still spilling up Stumpy?
Still spilling. I'm anticipate probably in week to 2 weeks remaining, starting to slow down.
And then, with the, repair, did you guys, how is, with the stability, I know there's one people that they shoot the giant rebar in, so what do you guys think of the stability of the repair? Is it fine? I know the geograde versus,
you're talking about for the road slide,
yeah.
so engineering.
Yeah, so we had it, how the slide was, it slid out, but there was actually a bench at the bottom, we were to build up from an old road. So we started at that point and worked our way, we have like a 2.5 to 1 slope about, which it doesn't typically require, that kind of, turn name in terms of like retaining an engineered wall. So, and then every step you just compact grid.
Just build it up.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, with the, pressure regulating valve, and I don't know if you guys, was there another break at ALT at the same time, or? Was there one? Because during this time, probably June, I started getting complaints of the same people who used to get their pressure valves blown out because the pressure swings were now complaining that they had no pressure to do anything, so they couldn't, water anything or
That's
use
how
their
the problems
hoses.
fix.
Problems fixed.
No, it shouldn't have dropped.
Yeah, so I don't know if there was a break or something else, but the same.
I'd have to look and see if there's a break, but
There-
I haven't received anything.
There was a break where some people were shut off and we didn't receive a few phone calls.
Yeah, because I'm
That-
thinking that's probably.
and then
what it is.
It happened like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, last week. People were calling in,
Last week, I think.
and we did send an all call out for
Oh,
that.
that was.
So that was. And I told them to call some.
Yeah, some of the people got the all call and some people either didn't answer it or didn't get it.
What's the
Sorry,
what's the minimum pressure we're supposed to,
20.
20s? So as long as we're giving 20, we're good?
40's great.
There's
Over
20 is
40
legal.
is
20 is
okay.
legal for fire flow.
If you're at 15, you guys do something for us.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got 15?
I don't know what it is. now.
You're 15, you're gonna get dribble.
We're not 15, we're back up to 30, so. And then the last thing is if you look at page 10, so you can see, our gross water use is still, well under what we've had before, but as we can see, we're starting to creep up again, so. Yes, go ahead.
Just want to add to that point, I think that's important, as part of the urban water management plan, is obviously we meet those goals.
Yeah.
And we met it last year, but we had a lot of drought restrictions in place
Yes.
last year, so. We need to keep an eye on, if we don't meet it moving forward, we could be restricted to any kind of state funding.
Exactly, so that's what I was saying, so as we start going up, we really want to keep our, communications going with, we still need to, conserve and. Just because we had a wet year not to use water wildly, so,
It's a good 4th of July message.
yes. While we're there and Alexis and the mascots.
Oh, just I got volunteers.
You okay?
Yep, I'm done.
Sheree?
Wait a minute,
You're gonna do the soup?
hello,
Yes, she is.
okay, so,
I think you're too tall for it.
Yeah.
Stick with that.
excuse me, are you done?
I'll let you know when I'm done.
Maybe.
Okay, so on the canal linings, do we have locations of what sections are getting lined or?
Yeah, I kind of presented that last meeting, I presented the locations, but I could, we're not doing any more this year until the season. And that would be part
Cause
of,
it's gonna be wet in October and won't be able to do anything.
Well,
well, typically we'll do them after, typically we do them after winter before season. And that's kind of our plan this year too, we have that water smart grant up country here we're gonna do, and that'll be after.
we're gonna do right below Tunnel Hill is our next area that we're gonna do. It's 1,500 feet at least, but we may do more.
And so this was all just May numbers
This many
on,
members, yeah.
on your page
Yeah.
too, and not, cause I mean, all the ditches got checked. Where
Yeah.
you only have listed Chelsea main ditch and then it's the run ditch check, but I know you have
Yes.
more than that in there.
Yeah, so you have the Kelsey Main and Upper Canal, that's the 3 segments, basically, so that's them going through and, checking everything just to make sure it's running properly, so they don't necessarily do that every day, they'll like keep an eye on a gauge here and there. But the run up their ditch is actually going up there, running along their ditch. So it's they're kind of separated. Yeah.
Okay. This is that, so. Has anything changed on the potable water side of the treatment plants? Because I've noticed and some other people have commented on, in fact, we don't. Since I've looked up here, there's a slight algae and if you don't use, water in your toilet, it develops as algae.
You think?
No, it's just full algae. Give me a weird look. Anyway, but now I'm noticing it's not doing it. So it's like there's something has changed, either the water, raw water, it has a slight change, so you're not doing as much at the plant, or something's changed slightly at the plant.
Well, we've seen increased turbidity over the last month. So that's increases your chemical usage slightly. Other than that, that's the only thing we've really seen the difference, just increased turbidity. We're not talking a lot, but we're talking from. We always have a problem in our treatment plants, we have such low turbidity going in.
Right,
Our
'cause it's
big
clean.
requirement. So we're only talking like 10 to 15 NTU, so.
Right, and it's very slight, that's there, and now it's not. And it was just odd that in the last 2-3 months, where some neighbors and everybody saying that. What they used to always see in their, like in the toilets, they don't see that anymore. So,
I'm not sure.
Can we run more water through their house?
Yeah,
You
Because-
always have to.
Well, no, I'm just saying typically that will be coming from water being stagnant in the system. When you get, because algae is not gonna grow when water flows.
right.
And I wasn't,
No, it's either, I look at it, it's too much, a little more nitrogen, a little more something in there that will give production to, algae that will grow more.
Sure.
And something's changed now. It doesn't seem like we're having that problem.
I mean, we continue to meet all our state standards and all.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just something I know, we noticed it changed.
Could be temperature too, right?
Been cool.
I mean,
Could be water temperature going into the plant too.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because it's cold.
well, it's usually colder in the summer, you just come out of bottom, so right now.
Well,
it's
but we're still
cold.
running, I mean, you're still blowing Stumpy out. And so
Well,
it's
we-
colder water coming down continually now into June.
It's colder in the summer, because at the summer, we actually draw it from Stumpy, right now, it's surface water. Coming right off the spillway, so it's actually warmer. this time of
Okay,
year.
huh,
I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but yeah,
Yeah,
you see, it
you're
was
right, you're right.
actually drawn from Stumpy, that bottom water is a lot colder.
right, okay. All right, I'm done, your turn.
Any other board member comment, question?
Yeah, I have some.
No,
Yes.
That suit was sized for Gloria.
oh,
Just wanted to give you- just wanted to give you a little-
My face is like down here.
And I'll bet Gloria would love.
And it's.
Get a kid. Yeah,
Sheree?
no, couldn't it just be your neighborhood pipes that are doing this? Cause I have never in my life
No,
seen green
'cause it's
algae in
been-
my toilets.
like I said, it was happening all these years and then all of a sudden now
All
it's
the time.
stopped.
Huh.
And it's like, I started getting, 'cause everybody knows I'm on board, they have, oh, did you happen to notice?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh,
Take-
everybody
take the
talks
win.
about the water that's sitting around their toilets.
I'm gonna put one of those tiny ball things there.
Yeah, and then.
Blue, anymore.
I live in a septic system.
Blue and green make what?
Yellows.
Big brown.
Okay, so my actual question I have is what % of this year's CIP has or will be completed by June 30th? Approximately, because before you said it was 14% a couple months ago. Yes, I mean,
Yes, and then
dollar wise. I guess.
60, maybe.
So
Well,
doll-
we've done quite a bit, I think. What we came short on was the canal lining, we didn't spend all that money.
And the master meters.
Was there a report in the financial reports that show what is still in the CIP and what's been paid? Do we get a report like that?
It's part of the budget, it's part of the,
Okay.
not the budget report that is run through financials, there's, should have all the,
So it's in this packet.
should be.
It should be, okay.
It may not be finalized, because once we get June 30th numbers, then it'll be 100% finalized.
I'm just asking that. Okay, when you have these breaks and the irrigation problems and stuff, people are saying they're not getting these robocalls. Because if it's a call from a foreign number and it's not GPUD's name, they're not answering it. So I really think you need to get emails situated and really send out both of them instead of just one. Because people are not, I mean, look at the irrigation committee and the irrigation customer that didn't get notified it was gonna start June 1st.
Yeah, we can,
I mean,
we
it's-
try to get contact information from everybody, and we can add that.
Well, I think every time, like when I call my bank, every time I call, they ask all my contact information. So maybe have customer service start doing that.
They do.
because, you know, if they haven't. And then just the only notation on these pictures, I know I asked this before, can you just put the name kind of where it's at, like up country or? You know, because when, if you go to look at it, a year from now, you have no idea what it is. I don't think one of them has like an area.
It says emergency declaration roadslide repair. The header right there. on page-
Yeah, but I'm talking, there's a lot of photos in here.
It's all the same, page 6,
This is the whole,
6, 7, 8.
okay, but where was that?
It happened in the upper canal road.
Okay. I don't know, just, something that notates exactly where it was, or close to it anyway.
Well, if you run these roads every day and you know it like the back of your hand.
Yeah, but I'm.
Yeah, so I'm saying for the
For the non-public.
for the public. You have no ideas.
Well, it's not a public access road, so they can't.
No, I mean in the packet.
We can add a few more descriptions. It's fine.
That's all, more is better.
Mhm.
That's it.
You have something? Go ahead.
Maybe they hold on.
You-
I just wanna state for the record that when we send the all calls, we do the call first. And it gives us an Excel spreadsheet, data download of who answered, who did not answer, where there was no answer, or if it left a message. All the people where they did not pick up the phone, or there was no message left, it was undeliverable, those people get a text message. Then we get an Excel spreadsheet of who received the text message, it went through, it wasn't a landline, it was a phone, mobile. And then who didn't receive it, anyone who didn't receive it, they get an email. And then when we get all of those undeliverable emails, the email list, that data download we get from WaterSmart says if they clicked on it, opened it, or never opened it. So all the ones that were undeliverable, those people get door hangers where our guys go out and put a letter stating what's happening on their property. And that's not for, I think we do that for shut offs too, right, for maintenance?
But wouldn't that just be?
Not every time, it depends on how long it's gonna be. But for the
This was
irrigation
scheduled.
customers,
So May 22nd, an email went out. Crews are beginning to operate raw water ditches and preparation. So this is May 22nd, it went out. For preparation for the 2023 irrigation season is scheduled to begin June 1st till October 31st. Hello, right here. Beginning June 1st, canal operators will open connection points for water delivery. Please contact the district offices for any service connection issue. They have their phone numbers, they have the when to be reached. It is imperative in order for the district to provide, and thank you for doing this, continuous irrigation flow for the duration of the irrigation season. District canal operators exclusively operate service connections and or district work. Irrigation rules and regulations posted on the district websites are provided at the link below.
What was the date of that?
22nd of May.
our biggest issue is that we can't get a hold of some of our customers because they don't have up-to-date information. And that goes for, community members as well. And we can't, their mail gets delivered back to us.
Yep.
So the only thing we can do is put a letter in a door hanger at the physical address, hoping that someone's at the property. We do have a lot of vacant properties.
And then I got it again on May 30th.
Okay,
Yeah,
but.
What about
But
April?
if
Let
the
them know.
road break
Yeah, the thing
happens
that
at
we'll have
night,
to add,
you're not
that's
in the
to
office
add
to be able to do that
when
sequence.
they're expecting
I thought
to
it
make
was-
first, we gotta put out the.
So you do it?
Yeah.
if it's
If I
email.
can.
But it did before that.
Well, I think the most
This was
complaints was
just
they
a
didn't hear
recent
about the
one.
irrigation season until after it was,
Mm.
that it was even, I don't know, they're just
It
people.
didn't matter
clueless
that
on
much to
Facebook.
them, they put a little more effort in to find out about it.
No, I know. They-
Well, and I
they
see
don't
a lot
look.
of Facebook stuff too. I just don't respond. And some of those people I
Yeah.
can see open the email. They're just
They're just. complaining.
very.
They see who it's from and
I've got about a half dozen
Okay.
letters saying that they were unaware and were available and they watched their emails, and about 6 of them so far. To notify them that they wouldn't get what they're expecting on May 1st, so. But it'd been good, what you just said? And my jaw dropped open, like we go to that degree?
You
Can
can
we,
tell me who those people are and I can show you if they open the email or not.
sure,
That's good.
but I was just wondering if we could put that in the newsletter or this is what we do to notify you.
but
And
they
then-
don't read the
So
newsletter.
there's something on the website that kind of doesn't go to that detail, but there's a break section on our website kind of
Oh, they don't go to that.
generally sets up like what the kind of process we go through, like emergency break.
There are people who will complain just because they want to
Exactly.
complain, even if they get the right information, unfortunately.
Well, the only thing we
Facebook
can
was brought up and
stress
Facebook is
They
the
need to
worst.
update the contact.
That's the main thing, but this has
We have-
been, this has been an issue for many, many
We
years.
do. Always,
One part's everywhere.
Yeah,
they get it. They just choose not to read it.
Yeah, but the Facebook page actually only has 62 people following it. So is there a way that GPUD could be on the other Facebook pages and then you share it over? Because you're only getting 62 people looking at it. Probably not even now. That's how many you're following.
I've actually gone on the GPUD website and requested to be accepted
And they
for
wouldn't.
what's happening on the divide, what's actually happening on the divide, all of those little subgroups, and they don't click yes, so.
For the district.
Correct.
The GPUD website,
62 is a 1.5%.
well, if you know an admin,
Well, Matt Sampson used to work here. He's from GPUD. He's the one that on what's happening. I'm surprised. I know, we don't like it, but yeah.
anyway.
Water resources manager. What's this?
Pretty average activities for inspections, we had 64 routines, 6 astros. For reporting, we had our no spill June 1st, I had the first quarter of the zone due May 1st, and then June 1st, the year is due, but I believe I turned it in late May, it's in this one and next month. And 1.23 inches of rainfall. Liz and I actually kind of collaborated on adding the rain inches down here on the bottom. I just kind of wanted to highlight like the 5 months of this year, we almost have as much rainfall as the entire year of last year, so kind of interesting.
And this is based where?
This is from the Sweetwater Treatment Plant drainage. Okay. And then, a quick update on Station 16. We had on May 14th, an unexpected power outage triggered some issues down there at the station. Our alarm system was affected by it, so myself and staff were not aware of the issue until Tuesday, the 16th. Once staff noticed the generator was running, we started to try identify and solve the problems. We found out the main breaker had malfunctioned, so we ordered a new one and contacted PG&E, as well as the residents that live right there in the front of the station off American River Trail, to let them know that the generator was going to be running. It's very loud and very old and very stinky, so it's kind of annoying, but we let them know it was going to be running until we get PG&E out there to temporarily disconnect the service. We were able to get power back on May 24th. Staff ended up having to switch out one of the lift station pumps. So for that 10-day power outage, we were running off of one pump. We had an electrician out to look at the control panel for the pumps, but we were kind of unable to figure out if it was the power outage that tripped the pump or if it was the pump initially that just kind of went kaput and then we had the power outage. Either way, all the pumps, regular power, and our alarm system is back up and running. And I just kind of wanted to give a verbal pat on the back to our wastewater technician because he was on it that whole time, refilling the generator, talking to customers. We got a hold of contractors, found that breaker that we needed. He was doing his stuff. And then quick WDR update. That same day that we had the power issues, or yeah, when we noticed them was the 16th, we had a survey crew and the engineers were out there at Station 16 getting locations of that pump building for the upgrade. And that's about it.
Board comment? Questions? Public? Mr. Dowd.
I measured from September to end of May, 76 inches of rain. And this last couple of weeks here that we've had with sprinkles, nothing. I mean, the bottom of my jar, nothing. So this didn't amount to anything. But it could come. Not over yet. 76 is a lot of water.
Since when?
September,
Oh.
when I put the fire out,
Okay,
country.
got it. Sheree?
What was the period of time all this happened? Like a day or 2 hours, 10 hours, or what do you mean? Well, where you had to do the generator.
It was running for 10 days.
10 days.
Yeah, from May 14th. But so Saturday, I got a voicemail and I kind of scanned my emails over the weekend, but I don't listen
Yeah.
to them. So it was a resident right there at the American River Trail that said, hey, the power went out and the generator's on and our power came back on and your generator's still going. So I got that message Monday. So I got a hold of our wastewater technician who's off Mondays.
Right.
But we ended up going down there and checking just to make sure that it had fuel and everything was fine. And then Tuesday when he came in, he went out and started trying to address the problem. So I'm not sure if it was the same outage like in the homes right there, or if that pump malfunctioned first and it triggered that breaker. I don't know what happened. And our electrician that was out there was like, I can't tell.
And all of that stuff's old equipment because it's been there a long time.
Yeah, well, we had just switched out the pump that had to be switched out again, and so we don't know if maybe from it sitting in that, there's a little conversation there that we kind of just leave it in there, because I don't have storage for it. It could have just been sitting in there and it got moisture damage or something from that, but we're gonna have it rebuilt. And hopefully figure it out from there, but it probably will be null and void at this point, because we're gonna have the lift station upgrade, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Mr. Dow, what was the total inches you measured?
76.
Okay, we got 70 on same time frame. Where are we measuring?
Sweetwater treatment plant has a rain gauge,
The,
and you got.
They tend to
I got
get-
an unofficial one, but I check it.
yeah, but- and that's lower in elevation too.
And it might have been different because of the snow, because
You got
I think my rain gauge was this deep on the snow. So
It's a drinking glass, so it's not a big one. It doesn't have the right diameter. We tried telling you that there's specific things in
No,
rain.
no, no, no.
A shot
Well,
glass?
I'll buy you one, Steve. I'll get you.
A straight, all you want is a
I mean, you
straight.
get something this big round, and it's
Glass.
gonna be the same as long as it's straight, bald and round.
I told him the dimensions have to be a certain thing, and there's a scientific calculation. Well,
They don't know what they're talking
Stands out there to the mouth.
about. I am working.
Alexis, if you're gonna use this graph next,
Yeah, I was gonna keep it on there.
can you do the old switcheroo in months from six?
I just noticed that.
February.
Why is January?
Okay,
I don't know what happened.
Okay.
But yeah, and then, I highlighted the two that were kind of outrageous this year so far.
General manager's report.
Nicholas, general manager report, Nicholas?
keep moving.
Okay, yeah, you'll notice that my report's a little bit shorter than it has been in the past. I did take a couple days off. I'm officially a resident of the great county of El Dorado now, so did takes a couple days to move. Nothing really major to report. Worked on some legislative items as I stated, AB 754. Mostly the time I spent this past month was working on budget, trying to dial in numbers, trying to make sure we had all the correct information. Wanted to just give a couple quick good news updates. I mentioned them at the finance committee meeting, but we did receive our property tax money finally. Also, SMUD payments, nobody collected a SMUD payment last fiscal year. That was overlooked. And I will again give Jessica the kudos, because she banged down every door at the county to ensure that we were going to receive our money. So we check was almost $2 million for property tax. It was like 1.98 and some change. And then SMUD payments, we received a check for 116, and we should receive a check for, I think it's 123. Yeah, 123 in the next few weeks. And that has to do with the county had to do a budget amendment because they squirreled the money away in their budget.
What was the reason for delayed property tax?
Bob retired, or somebody retired at the county, and it was Bob. Bob retired, and unfortunately they had no replacement for Bob, and it was just overlooked. So we just had to make sure we got to the right person. And
You know, we were talking about prepaying obligations.
yeah,
Now that there's interest to be gained, they tend to hold back on payments.
So-
to everybody, so I was wondering.
I may go to the county and ask for our interest money on the 123 that they owe us.
Yeah.
Or even the delay in the property tax. That was our responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, that's.
You are correct,
Yeah.
and I think the 123 I can, because it's a year's worth of time frame, I can do that a lot easier. I haven't decided how much barking I wanted to do yet.
It's something to consider.
Just don't kick him out of the room.
It's not El Dorado Water Agency, this is that county office, and they did us a big favor by taking on a grant for us, so I don't think that, barking up all the wrong trees. We want to build relationships, not we want to build bridges, not burn them.
We want to get a new reputation.
So why is the SMUD not automatically sending you the money? You think they owe it?
SMUD goes to the county, and
Oh,
the county,
okay.
they send all the money to the county,
Okay.
and then the county disperses it to who it gets
So
got.
is the
Who,
county.
Yeah, I think the problem that happened is the person that retired, it actually is board action item where they have to actually approve all of the different, because we're one of like 4 that gets money,
So
so.
it can get into consent. calendar.
Correct.
Goes to EID, goes to
Yeah.
EDWA, there's a bunch of different organizations that get some. And then just to let the board know, I'll be attending the CSDA General Manager Summit from June 25th to June 27th, and I will be taking, hopefully, certified special districts manager test at that event.
And back by the 4th of July.
What's that? It's only 2 days of being gone. What is with the 4th of July? I'll be back a week before the 4th of July. And that's my update. I do have a quick presentation that I'd like to give. That is it in here? I think it's a solar presentation in here. Is a solar presentation in there? I had a couple slides.
It's on the agenda,
Yeah, we met with Terra Verde, Adam and myself again, and it's come up a few times, the argument about whether or not solar is right for the district, and Terra Verde basically said that even before the NEM 2.0 went away, the district was a marginal client at best to do solar, a larger solar project to offset our rates. Basically, the ROI on a project like that would be in the 15 to 20 year range, where a typical project is 7 to 15 years. Is something where you like pull the trigger on immediately. There is looking here at the headquarters building is still something that is advantageous for the district. So we are continuing to look at solar options here, but like the rooftop solar at Walton or at Sweetwater is really not a viable option for the district. It just is not cost effective. So even if it had been put in when the facility was constructed, it would not have been a good investment for the district. However, there are other opportunities that we're looking at for solar. There is a company that does community solar here, while they do it throughout the state, but it's something that we can explore here. And what community solar is become part of a co-op, different organizations that put in solar, and they would rent a portion of our land, or a really neat thing that they can do is they can rent a portion of the surface area of our reservoirs. And when I say reservoirs, I don't mean Stumpy, I mean Lake Walton, Greenwood, and Sweetwater. And what they would do is they would float solar on our reservoirs, which would give us a few different benefits. They would give us a percentage of the power, much like we do with our hydro electric facilities currently, but it would also help with erosion on the banks of the ponds. It would help with evaporation of water from the ponds, and it also helps with algae growth within the ponds. So there's benefits to doing this. It would not be owned by us. It would not be built by us. It would be benefited by us, but as of right now, no cost to the district. So it's something we're exploring.
You won't have to maintain by us either.
Correct. It is maintained. It's exactly how our contract works with the hydro. We basically get, a pittance of what the solar that they create is a rental charge for renting the space that we own. So that is the quick solar presentation that I have.
Yeah, I had a quick, I mean, we knew we weren't gonna get a big ROI for solar for the rates, but it was more of offset for the power with the treatment plant.
Yeah, so even at that, the space is not advantageous for that. This community solar would be a better use of the space because we can put it on the water and then we can still offset those costs.
There's not enough rooftop to generate much electricity that those plants use.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So how would it be advantageous for these companies to do it if it's not for us?
Because community solar has different metering requirements through PG&E.
And they get better.
They get better,
Okay.
they get better rates based on how much they can sell the power for.
Are you finished? Yes. Okay. Committee reports, Irrigation Committee, Ray Griffiths. Who is he?
He's not here and we haven't had a meeting. It was postponed until this Thursday.
June 15th. Okay,
He's married to a veterinarian. Irene something.
Dr. Irene.
Oh, really?
I
You know
thought,
that, huh?
I thought I saw him on a who's who list of officials.
Bachelors.
No, Ray Griffiths, El Dorado County something. He's,
He's on the fire safe council.
oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, he's a now.
Okay, in that case, let's move to the Finance Committee. Mr. Miller?
Finance Committee met with the board and I thought that we, talked through all of the issues that we had, and from the standpoint of the Finance Committee, we think we've got a good budget. So for the coming year. And then the other thing that we have done in the previous month is I have relinquished my throne.
No,
Andy Fisher is going to be the chairman of the Finance Committee. I will still be on the committee. But, I went through 4 years of sometimes pretty sticky wickets, if you will. And so I thought it was a good time to pass it on to another member. But I'll still be active. So Andy would be the new chairman.
Official at the next meeting.
Pardon?
It will be official at the next meeting.
Right.
Which is June 29th.
He's more able to attend meetings.
Hmm?
He's more able to attend meetings.
Yes, he's actually been to the last 3 in prep in person.
And Steve may or may not be here.
No, he's part.
Steve, we like Steve. Steve is staying.
I'm easy to find.
Okay,
I stand out in a crowd.
if you, Mr. Dowd,
I think we ought to give Steve a plaque with his name on it and achievement and everything. He's done a great job.
Mhm.
Well, he's not
He's always
leaving.
done- I know, but when he was.
He's not dying or anything.
Chairman.
We will when he's officially done. We will take care of Steve.
Just put it on the tombstone.
Those first couple of years were very tough. Let me tell
oh,
you,
tubes and,
almost barging from coming in here.
thank you, Mr. Miller. Next meeting, June 20th, last Thursday of the month. Ad hoc committee for policy management.
So, we did finish the board compensation expense reimbursements travel allowance. That's on the, agenda for today. Policies that are still in progress are the environmental compliance, harassment, discrimination, personnel, and water transfer policy. And we will add into that now the asset management and construction and meter rental policy. So those are the ones that are being worked on now.
Next meeting, June 29th also.
Correct.
Ad hoc grant writing committee.
So, I have you in here. So, basically the action items, we did look at the emergency FEMA funding updates. So, Adam talked about it in his report. To get reimbursement from, the road slide and also the Walton dredging. And, the appropriation, so basically the stuff that's still outstanding is like the appropriations bills. We're still waiting for that. There are some good signs because the debt ceiling was raised, so hopefully they'll get a budget and we'll be in there. But we're also, the FEMA grant, that one's still pending, the HMAG Hazard Mitigation Assistant Grant. There's no update yet on the CAL FIRE wildfire grant program. And, the state budget hasn't come through yet. We have some, appropriations on that as well. There were some additional potential granting opportunities and Robert provided some, so I'll pass it over to Robert.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced availability of $10.7 billion for powering affordable clean energy. This is the largest funding available to rural electricity since the New Deal of 1936. Under this program, they can forgive up to 60%, probably for our agency, 40% of what it costs. And this is for the use of wind, solar, hydropower, geothermal biomass, and renewable energy storage. So there's funds in there. If we do get some kind of energy storage need, then there's funds in there. There's also potential funds for hydropower. This program is available to rural areas that have 20,000 people or fewer. And also a disadvantaged, label, which we are living within. The maximum loan amount is 100 million. And the minimal loan amount is 1 million. So we're looking at the potential of a hydro system below Stumpy as a possibility. Solar panels, which, as you said, is not a good return on investment. But if they paid for it, then.
With grant funding, it becomes more, the return on investment becomes much more.
40%, 60%, depends how we fall. The possibility of water wheels, which we talked about, and also, as I mentioned, battery banks. They have an application period, which is open the end of June through the end of September. And then after that 3-page application is received, they will invite people to go through the application process. So this is something that the committee will keep up to date on.
So that was provided to our grant writers in Adams, so they're working on that already. Still have more to the report. We're still working with the NRCS, which is the Natural Resources Conservation Service for the that's for the which grant was that one for? That was the emergency watershed protection one. So that one is still being worked on, and because of what we had to go through with the FEMA and the hazard mitigation assistant grants, and because we're going to try to do a brick one, our recommendation from the grant committee is that the board and the staff works on providing us with the ability for the board to adopt the local hazard mitigation plan, because that's a requirement for some of these grants. So we need to get that done so we can get.
And so we have started to address that. We will look likely to annex onto the county's local hazard mitigation plan. We already named in it, but we do have to adopt it in-house as part of the process. And so Adam has taken the lead on working with, I believe, are you working with Bennett on that or just on your own?
Some direction from EID.
Yeah, so EID is doing it as well. They're doing their own. We tried to get on and do it with them. Unfortunately, we're not close enough in relation. We are, a lot of the stuff is the same, but we're not, it's just too separated. So we're doing our own as well.
Your board member? Sure.
I just have a clarification. The 20,000, is that customers or residents area?
It's
That is a population area.
Population.
It's a residence based on communities,
Right.
so.
Well,
Well, I was wondering. if it was
It's,
customer versus
it's,
that.
but it's based on communities. So it's like every one of our communities counts differently. So Georgetown, you have to have 10,000 in Georgetown or 10,000 in Garden Valley or 10,000 in Cool. And so we don't meet the threshold of any of the USDA because all of those different, we encompass those different communities, but they don't meet the threshold of over 10,000. So we're legal. We fall within a rural designation.
I thought you were saying we had to be under 20,000.
yeah, in each one.
Oh, in each.
Correct, in
Okay.
each one.
Well,
Yes.
we're definitely not there. And does each of those individual communities disadvantage status count differently than or combined?
So differently, each one would, each depends on the benefit of the project. So if the project would have to benefit more of a disadvantaged community than
Like
not.
Georgetown's more disadvantaged than Cool and Highlight Hill,
Correct.
like by double or under double.
Well, it doesn't matter the double or the triple. It just has to do with whether it
Where
meets
the threshold.
the threshold is,
Yeah.
yes.
So then you would have to focus that project in that community more than the other.
Yes, correct.
And your next meeting date is still scheduled for August 2nd?
Yes, it is the first Wednesday of every even month.
Even. Next, ad hoc committee for audit.
That's so.
What happened to my every third Thursday lunch?
So now that I'm here living in El Dorado, we will definitely be getting back to that.
Keep track of all these
No, this
excuses
is
you give.
Oh, my goodness.
1 month.
I know Director Stovall tried to come and with me like 3
Wait.
times, and every time I was
I'm
unavailable.
supposed to be coming to all the planning meetings.
You will
too,
also, yeah,
And that hasn't happened either.
I don't even have.
Hey,
a
listen.
schedule yet, so.
listen, you gotta give me, I'm here now. I'm here, I'm in it to win it, so I'm here and I will definitely keep all those commitments that I've made. And I want to be able to meet with you individually so that I can get to know your priorities, so yes, I plan to continue to hold those.
You verify it on.
Yeah, so instead of 1 month on, 5 months off. It's gonna be-
We are on for
Yeah,
the 27th, I believe,
27th,
hang on.
unless,
Papers.
yeah, I think that's it, 27th, that's the 4th Thursday. On
I think
Odd month.
staff would like to get out of here on time.
a odd year,
yeah. Can we take
Can we
care of this at
expedite
time?
this discussion, calendar discussion?
I will get with you exactly when we're scheduled.
Okay, ad hoc committee for audit committee, no meeting scheduled,
No.
directors.
Any update on the audit?
We're in the final stages of the audit.
Any
No
data?
news is good news at this point. We have no findings yet. And LSL has been able to give them all information that they requested. Because they were our previous auditors.
And we've basically been told to not ask, because if we ask,
Don't
then it
ask,
takes
don't
longer, yeah. So it
No
could,
news is good.
yeah, it could happen the next. Today, tomorrow, or next week or so.
and this would be for last year.
Correct. And then, and basically we'll go right into this year's,
Mm.
as soon as they start, they've done.
Yeah, we've done the same thing with LAFCO. We just got on and he said, just start again with this one, so we get it earlier, exactly.
Ad hoc labor negotiation committee, Director Thornborough.
Nobody yet.
Okay. Okay, action item 9A. Consider adoption of the final budget. Capital improvement project.
So we, there was a couple typos, as we were going through things, Jessica had caught a few of the, just issues with headers and. So if you have any typos that you've caught, please let us know, but we may have already caught them on our own. So let's check with them. You should have the most updated copy of the budget report. We did go through and make some of the address some of the comments that were made during the joint budget workshop. So any of the cuts that were proposed, those were made. I do have a presentation. If you'd like to see it, it is the same presentation with a few updates on the slides that came out at the budget workshop. We can go through that if you like, or we can take discussion at this time.
Are we looking at this or are we looking at what was put over there today? This is what's on there.
That's what I'm asking right now.
Oh,
I would go through the slides
Okay.
because it's being recorded and they can it can be watched on the recordings.
We can go through it real quickly. Source of supply. One thing to note here is we had a budget overrun of almost $200,000, 170,000, and we are definitely budgeting higher in our non-labor expenses. However, we're not going as high as the expenses were that we saw from the fire. So we are understanding that there is going to be some increased operating expenses from the fire, but we are not going to the same extreme as the fire caused us to go to this year. Anything that's in yellow has been either adjusted or up or down. Most of that has been adjusted downward. Sorry, I'm trying to. Yeah, okay, I gotta get my pointer out. I apologize. I thought I could use my mouse. I gotta put it at the ceiling and then down. One thing to note is the FAA training. This is for the drone. I know that's come up a few times. We reduced the amount of rental equipment that we anticipate renting. We hope to not have to rent as much. This number dropped because we did reduce some of the costs for miscellaneous supplies, daily supplies, stuff along those lines. And then over in professional services, we reduced the amount of spillway work that Bennett's gonna do. And then we also removed the engineering consultant work in each of the departments. Because well, we have a administrative $25,000 to start any work with under 5,600. And then as we determine a project, if we do need them, it would be rolled over into the CIP. So the extra costs are not in each of the individual departments anymore. As we move into raw water, this is one of our smaller departments. This is basically the irrigation water. So this is getting water from just to the customers. This doesn't really have anything to do with getting water to like treatment plants. One thing to note is this here is materials. Again, we're coming in lower than last budget. And I know our actuals were just a slightly higher this year. So we had 66,000 in actuals. We're coming down to 60 in actuals. The big increase here is we do have a staffing increase up in this area here. It has to do with the amount of PERS, the amount of health insurance and other things that we're having to pay for at the district. So ultimately the budget is actually coming in less than last year's budget. But with the it may come in a little higher than the actuals for last year. Stuff here that has been changed. We reduced the amount of rental equipment that we anticipate having to rent. Again, we reduced the amount of daily kind of miscellaneous needs for materials and supplies. And over here, we were again removed Bennett and I believe Ecor from this one here.
When are these changes? When were all the changes you're talking about? When were they made?
Some of these were made before the budget workshop. I'm just reiterating for the board meeting.
Oh, okay.
For water treatment, this is basically anything that costs to run the plants. This here, our non-labor expenses are going up approximately $50,000. That's right, that's about $53,000. The budget last year for materials, we are coming down about 15,000 in budget. It's a little bit higher than our actuals came in. And what's going on here? We reduced again how much training we have. This was about $2,000, $2,500. We got a better rate on Team Viewer because we reduced the amount of we're not using Team Viewer in the office anymore, so we were able to go to a lower rate here. We did reduce the amount of upgrades to the building. This is, Adam, refresh my memory on what we have to do there. There's
that's just either something comes up, Walton's an old building, so if something comes back, so we have some more of these, we have to fix something there, just how that's coming up when you go to the side.
We do have to, this is something else that we noticed, we have to pay for a water audit. This came up before. So the water audit is a state requirement that we have to fulfill. Basically, they make sure that we aren't losing more water in our system than we're allowed. This was reduced before the last budget meeting. The VFD repair was originally, I think, at $25,000. We reduced it to 17. So the VFD at Walton is old and is needed to be repaired for some time. And so we've identified it as something we would like to complete this year. We reduced the amount of electrical engineering work. This is basically when every time we have something that needs to be troubleshooted, we have them come in and help us with whatever we need for electrical work. Your question?
You're hiring an engineer.
More programming. So like the SCADA program, like pump curve change, something.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were gonna make a note that we were gonna go out and look and do a reassessment on the laboratory. See if we can get a better rate on that since we've been going to the same one over and over for how many years?
What company, which one are you talking about? I'm so sorry.
Government regs.
Let's look, on this one.
Oh, the lab fees. Yes, so that's something we're gonna look at addressing lab fees, yes.
That's been we've been contracting too long.
Mr. Dow.
On the distribution chemicals, 45,000 pounds, has that been going up steadily every year?
Yeah, actually, I have a document here that we put together. Actually, I didn't put it together. Adam put it together. So thank you, Adam. Let me pull it up. He went over all the increases. So let's see.
It's been showing up on the monthly too.
Disinfection chemicals went up from $3.52 a gallon in 2022 to $5.22 in 2023. So that's a $2 increase in disinfection chemicals. Also, soda ash has gone from 50 cents a pound to 76 cents a pound. So almost 20 cents a pound in increase, 25% increase if you want to do it by percentages, and the disinfections is 30% of an increase. So,
And then are we addressing those to see if there's any less expensive source of those?
so
Multiple sources that give those chemicals to the plant.
So the, yes, but they're kind of unique to our plans. Last time we went out to bid, we had, our contract ends the end of December. So at that time, we would be going out and seeing if there's other sources, but last time we did go out to bid, I think it's 3 or 4 years ago, it was, I think I like one thing back. It's where we're at, basically.
So every 3 or 4 years, that's about time to go back out. So we can definitely reassess that and relook at that for sure.
Going back to the budget page, if I recall at the finance committee, the very last line item, capital expenses of 19,750 was gonna get relocated.
In 5,600, not in
So
50,
that's-
yes. Okay, so moving on to 5,400. You'll notice that there's several changes here in how much we assessed from the actuals. So that's just something to note. Let's see. There's from last year to this year, we had about a $4,000 increase. I'm sorry, I can't read that far away. Oh, sorry, decrease in non-late in wages. So we're coming down a little bit from last year's budget. We are going up in expenses. This one is a little difficult. I even had a hard time with this one. Most of that comes here in this distribution main lateral meter supplies. And actually, I reduced this, hoping that we don't have as many breaks because we've been changing out some of the system. But Adam, what was the number that you came up with? I think it was 130 that we spent this year. So we actually spent more than this year, just in breaks and repairs within the distribution system.
That said, we do have a good supply of material on standby for breaks. We kind of stocked up a lot last year, so we're hoping that number will come down because of that. You know, so we, instead of scrambling, we have material that will fix these breaks quickly.
And then something else. We did reduce these categories here, hand tools. We did buy a bunch of hand tools this year using surplus funds. So this is just kind of if we need something or something breaks, we do have a little bit of miscellaneous toolage and then signage. And what we're trying to do is the signs on the different facilities that we have. Some of them are old, some need to be replaced. So we have to do the emergency signage in case there's issues. And then again, professional services, remove those Ecor and Bennett in professional services. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, just in general on tools, since we had like $10,000 worth of tools stolen last year, did our insurance reimburse it? Or our deductible?
Up to our deductible, yeah.
So we didn't get covered?
No, well, yeah, we did, but we had deductible, we had it covered, so we got most of it back.
How much do you think we deduct? Just curious.
I'm drawing a blank.
Right, $2,500.
Yeah, it was really.
So we got, okay, it's good, we got something.
Okay, and then so admin, this is our biggest one, so there's a couple pages here. The biggest increase here is, you'll notice this went from, like 990 to 1.24, but you'll notice that it's basically. We're still having a month to spend here. Cause this is as of May. And we're trying to keep it around this number. So definitely something that we're gonna have to work at. We're looking to get rid of or have less of, part-time staff, which we didn't have this year. Unfortunately, some of these are numbers we just don't have a whole lot of control over.
Okay, so this is what changed, because that last figure doesn't look like it's on here.
You'll have to be a little bit more specific so I can understand.
Well, it shows,
The
one
salaries were
166.
Oh, sorry, yes, we updated the salaries so that, because at the end, there's a document that we all have to roll up together with all the different
Okay, so
salaries,
this is less than the one that I got on the 8th,
probably.
Even though this is, have the 8 on it.
I was including
This-
Adam and Alexis.
What has the 8th date on it?
This, what we got on the 8th, and then the beginning of this PowerPoint has the same.
The spreadsheet will explain.
We updated the slides inside the spreadsheet, so not the date on the front.
but then we didn't get that replacement, we got this.
Correct.
Well, this is a presentation, it wasn't,
Did you back up on
A
that?
power.
What's that?
Did you back up on
Yeah,
that?
of course.
but it is online.
Okay. It looks like, so there's not actually a 14%, it's a change from the budget from 22, 23, but not to the actual, so I think we'll be looking at that.
Yeah, so this number here is from the last year's budget to this year's budget, the increase in budget. But if you look at this number here, this is what we've actually spent this year.
True.
So this was unfortunately an over budget from an overspent from what we had budgeted from last year.
So instead of a 14%, so it's 14% higher, still with another month left. Let's see. So
No.
1124.
We're saying that this is what we're hoping. This is 14% higher than what we budgeted for last year. So we're just trying to show that
Yeah.
the amounts that were budgeted for last year needed to be increased by this much. And so this is the reason why, is because the actuals here are higher than we budgeted for.
Yes.
Another way to explain it is that right now we're 13% over budget. And the
Yes.
increase from last year's, but this year's budget to next year is 14%, so it's 1% difference from actuals.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
And then here, this is where we have most of our expenses for the district. It's within this 5,600 administration. So just like to go into the detail. Things that were changed. Building maintenance went up a little. Sorry, I know that reflects really bad. It's okay. I'm almost putting one right in the director Stovall's eyes, so.
I'm not even looking.
We have the chance.
I apologize. We did put money here. There was only about 2,500 here in E-Core. So we did increase this just slightly, but that was at the budget workshop. This was reduced from 25,000 at from one of the last board meetings. And I'm getting myself here because the TV's right at my face. We are looking to cancel Socrata just because it's not doing what we hoped it to do. And
We moved mom software from office supplies to software and licenses, because it's technically a license.
yeah, and the mom software, unfortunately, for 4 more years, we have to pay that fee. It's the best we can do on cost, unless the district would like to conduct a forensic audit. So we either do a forensic audit or we spend $28,000. It's whatever would be more advantageous to the district. Okay, for zone, not much changed here. We did have a change in salaries, so we had to fix this, and this was a big issue that we've been dealing with all year. There was a hanger on that got put into Tyler for $81,000, and it took us a really long time to figure out why, and it's because I think somebody had either fat fingers or something happened where they typed in the wrong numbers, and it was 5601. And so that was an issue that we identified, and everything else is pretty well close to where we were, except for the salaries. So we addressed that, and then the operating costs are going to be less than they were last year. Here is the detail, not much really to say here. We do have the WDR update to continue, that's for $30,000, and the rate study, which I think is high for 45,000. But I wanted to include that just in case, with the system there and with the WDR update, it's going to maybe take some doing for them to figure out how to continue the fund. If, for example, if the WDR comes through and the CDS system is changed and the non-CDS systems are removed, they're going to then have to go in and reassess the whole system from scratch. Okay, and then we have, that is the end. But if you want to go through the actual book, did you have any questions? Did you have a question?
Director Thornborough will have some commentary.
Oh, yeah, I'll be happy to take anything. Let me just go through this so that we can address the, if you go to page 4 and 5, we would like to propose the organizational chart, which is included in the salaries, and the changes are, we did address it is 26 full-time employees, so I apologize. There was a comment about dotted lines between the auditor and legal counsel, auditor being an independent of the district, still under the purview of the board. So the board has a solid line, and then they work with us as staff directly, indirectly. Also, we addressed the comment about human resource IT specialist. That was an oversight on my part. And then we would like to add the one position of a water treatment operator to increase longevity. So as we approve the budget, we would like to have this organizational chart approved as well. We did remove, if you go to page 6, there was an engineering manager still on here, so we actually pulled that that job title off of this employee salary sheet. I don't foresee we're going to be having an engineering manager because we have an engineer on contracts. Thank you. But we did add in the extra position that is vacant in red there. And Director Thornborough, I know we had a discussion, so we did consolidate, and the salary sheet does match up now.
What's in red?
The new position we'd like to add, it's no, on the next page, I said page 6. Says that water treatment operator 2, and we consolidated all the salaries to make sure that both pages matched. We can go to operating revenue, water sales. Is there any questions about any of the revenues? The only thing we changed for non-operating revenue, we went from $60,000 in interest income to $250,000 in interest income. I received word from our investment partner that they anticipated approximately $375,000 in returns. We didn't want to put that whole number in there just in case we have to use money for an emergency. So we went a little bit more conservative at 250, and he even was conservative at his 375. So I think that we're okay at 250. See, that's basically all of my comments. If anybody, I know you have a few things to say, so I'd be happy to take any questions, and then we can talk about the CIP after that.
Well, regarding the revenue, the supplemental fee should not be on revenue. The $653.
Yeah,
it should not appear on there at all.
but it should appear under there because it's coming in, but not, I understand what you're saying. It shouldn't appear under revenue.
Yeah, it should be a whole separate thing. You know, not show up on revenue, because that's misleading. It's showing that you have this money coming in and you really don't, and even if we did, we couldn't do anything with it anyway. Plus the fact that it's not shown, it's not being expended. And so you can't say, okay, we got this income and this expense is associated with this income, but we don't show the expense.
Sure, no, I completely agree with you. I can put it down, we can move it down to next to the grants, if that maybe a better spot for it.
Well, yeah, because you can't really include grants either, so.
Well, and that's why the grants are kind of at the very end, because it's
Right.
underneath total revenue, so
I was thinking-
I can make that change.
Do you asterisk it? So.
We can asterisk it, yeah.
We can get it number 4. Or no, it's part of number 1, so we'll just make it a 1.
Just go. Looking in the future, what's, why are we looking at this? Oh, yeah, it's part of the revenue, but not expenses.
Yeah.
But it could just be a sub, like wastewaters.
It could be like grants, just.
We're gonna put it below total revenue, you can put it above grants or below grants, I'll take above grants.
Below. Grants we can use,
Okay,
that we can.
yes, it's
But supplemental
Really
charge,
good point. huh?
supplemental charge is consistent in grams.
All right, below, second motion.
we will adjust that, and we are aware that that shouldn't be where it is, and we talked about that earlier today.
Okay.
Did you wanna?
My suggestion would be, we have an idea of what the supplemental fee income is going to be, the revenue. But we already know what our amortization schedule is set until we renegotiate that at a future point. Put those 2 line items together so we know what our
Yeah.
above and beyond is, and that's our amount we are allowed to invest.
Right, but it has to be a separate
It is,
investment, it has to be
yeah.
a separate investment.
But I don't think it should go with grants, it should just be its own.
No, I would say with
Loans.
grants.
No, below grants, a new line, just so it's not under, just so it's not underneath, underneath total revenue, where it says, just put underneath total revenue, somewhere.
I don't care.
Yes, I understand. Yes, we will take care of that.
Yeah.
What if there's an
Here's one
expense
of the
that
ways
could
to
go
make
up?
the issue of where it's down in place. All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay,
There we go.
here we go. I've had, I hate to say issues, but I have a lot of concerns with the budget. Just the whole way that it's presented. First of all, I don't believe that you base a current budget or a future budget on a past budget. The past budget has got nothing to do with nothing. The only thing that matters is the actuals. That's what matters, not the budget. So all of this budget has been referenced to the last budget. And so I went through and made my own spreadsheets using the exact information that was provided in here, and I added a couple of things. First, I added a column to project out the year end for this year. So we had up till May 31st shown on there, and so I just added a column and extended that another month to give kind of a ballpark for the year end.
Extrapolating, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. And then what I did was I made 2 more columns instead of showing the percentage change from this budget from the last budget. I showed the percentage change from the actuals from this year, projected for this year or calculated from this year, and for the actual for last year. Now, another problem surfaced in the fact that our actuals for this year included so far up to $200,000 worth of mosquito fire related stuff. So that, in my opinion, should have been separated out. That money should not, now they did, they did an outstanding job of tracking it all. So it's tracked, that's where we come up with the 200,000. However, it still shows in the operating budget. So what I think should be happening is that when we have an emergency like that, like a mosquito fire, those costs should be replenished to the operating budget from an emergency fund or from CIP. And then that way, when any FEMA money comes in and stuff, then it would be credited to that emergency fund or CIP or whatever. This whole budget that we're talking about is supposed to be the normal operating budget. It's what the district needs to normally operate outside of any kind of emergencies or anything like that. Now, there is a reserve, an operating reserve. That has to be for operating to keep going. To get us through the times when we don't have, or we're waiting for the tax money from the county, we're waiting for money that's owed us. That's got to get us through that, and thank goodness that was there, because as you guys said, you know, we were at, right now, there's about $3 million in the account, but a couple weeks ago, it's my understanding, there was only like 200,000.
It was more, it was more than 200,000.
700,000.
I misspoke, it's 700.
Okay, so 700,000 because the county had all of our money. That reserve wouldn't have been there, we wouldn't have been making payroll.
You voted on it.
That's right, so that's why we had that 6 months now, which brings up another thing, is that that resolution to have 6 months of operating expenses is 6 months at the current cost per month to operate the district. So what's been done in the past, I've noticed, is that after the audit, and after the fact, and they say, okay, after the audit, you have all the surplus money, they say, okay, well, let's go and put that into operating reserves because that went up last year. But it wouldn't have done any good to do it then. It needs to be done in the beginning, when you know how much the monthly cost is for operating. So anyway, so what ended up happening when I put in these columns to show the percentage difference between the proposed budget and the actuals from last year and from this year, it was all over the place. It's like on 5,100, the salaries are 75% higher than what was shown in here for last year. So that kind of raises a flag. And so I started going down here, and I noticed there was a lot of or not, I shouldn't say a lot, but there was some suspicious things going on, in that the payroll taxes and the health insurance were all over the place. Also, I'm gonna back up in that the packet we originally got was a duplication of 5,200 expenses, and so I didn't have that.
Well, it wasn't a duplication, it was just the header was wrong.
No, it was a duplication of the actual sheet. The 5,200 that originally came out.
Because it wouldn't let me copy and paste.
The two there,
I'm sorry.
yeah, so I had to, so I went back to the latest update of 5,300 and used those figures, which put it a month behind, so I had to make an adjustment in that. Anyway, and I met with Nikki and Jessica yesterday for a couple hours and went through and I showed them a lot of the things that needed to that were kind of funny, and the fact that we can't get true actuals for this year because of the intermingling of the mosquito fire. What else did I want to say about? Oh, one other thing that I've noticed is that the income from water sales, that's all the different things that are shown in that water sales block, is 200,000 short of just covering employee expenses. So, I mean, if that water, the water revenue doesn't cover that, that's the only thing that's kind of a variable. And what that means is that's the only place we're gonna make up extra money through a rate increase. So it's gonna take about, I think, a 6% rate increase right now just to cover the employee expenses. So there's that issue. Now, as Nick was saying, that we can have, we have this interest income that may offset that, but that's, yeah, the interest rates are great now. They might be great for the next few years. And what happens if they go down? And while they're going down, our expenses are coming up. So the other thing is that there's been several updates. So now pretty much all my, or a lot of my information in here is not correct. And so, because we're getting up to the minute updates, even just before the meeting, there was more updates. So, I do have a minor issue with the CIP. I also don't think that at this point in time, we should be spending 85,000 to do the reorganization. With the exception of, the one other person, I don't know if that's gonna be
What's the reorganization?
Reorganization.
your new org chart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I call that reorganization.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Reorganization.
There's a methodology to it, and it has to do
Right.
with building the ability to train staff
Mhm.
internally to become. So
Yeah.
we're losing staff to other districts, and we
Well,
want to encourage them to stay. By
I understand all of that, but my main concern is that. From the way I'm looking at this, I'm very concerned about the budget and the numbers, the percentage. To actuals is different than the percentage from difference between the last budget and this budget. Okay, so the actuals need to, first of all, we need to determine what they actually are. And secondly, that's what needs to be taken into account. Because in the back page, what all of this led up to is I wanted to know, ever since 2018, Prop 218, we've been getting over $1 million every single year to put into CIPs. And that's not only anybody's been noticing, but that amount that we've been getting, what they were calling the surplus money, has been going down and down. And so now it's going to, there's justification for all this, but not to go all that. Right now, it's looking like, based on the information that's in here, that this year, taking into account that we're setting the operating reserve at the new budget figures, which is where it should be, we're gonna have a whopping $215,000 is what, well, no, I take that back. We don't know what we're gonna have because we don't have the audit for this year or for last year. So that looking at these numbers, the way they are in here, is we're only gonna realize about $215,000.
plus, are we gonna also do the 200,000 for the mosquito fire? If we get reimbursed,
No, this is, well, let me think, that's,
If we don't get reimbursed, those are our operating costs, is
Yeah.
responding to an emergency, natural.
I think
Well,
if,
that should come out of reserve, so that's,
yeah,
that's not normal operating.
well, out of this, you gotta put
We don't have
300
an
in.
emergency fund, so that needs to be set up. too.
Oh, well, we have
we have a reserve,
We have reserve.
so it still comes out of the reserve, they just don't put as much in.
Right. Well, yeah,
It still ultimately comes from the reserve.
okay. However, with the proposed budget, with the increase, which actually is gonna increase the amount we have in operating reserve. Along with, let's see, the additional plat, okay, we're gonna end up. After the 23-24 budget with about $95,000 in surplus. So I raised a question, I was talking to Nick, I said, well, how do we go from the last audit we got? We had over $1 million in surplus. Now, how did we go from that to 200 to 95? Where'd all that money go? And so that's I don't get it. So I guess what I'm saying is that I would like to have some more time because of all the updates that we've gotten in the last, up to today. To look through this, and I'm not comfortable approving the budget at this meeting. I would recommend that we have some more time to digest all the updates and look at this a little bit more and have a special meeting, and not pass it today. Have a special meeting in about a week. We still got plenty of time, and I'd like to really get this right.
Is that a motion
We can't make a motion yet.
to,
You can make a motion,
Well,
you absolutely can make
There's
it,
no action on it.
it's kind of.
you can still discuss it after you make a motion.
I just let everybody discuss.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So, but I just, in the CIP, I would like to see that, 250,000 for vehicle stuff.
Mhm.
I would like to see that itemized. As far as, what,
Well-
we used to have like a, what's that called, like a rotation?
The master vehicle.
We have one,
was the-
we can,
so we
Yeah, so we
provide
say,
that.
okay, well, we're replacing this, especially since we're talking about the electric stuff. That I would like to know if we're doing any of that.
we're not doing any electrical, we're trying to do it before the electric stuff comes in. Because
Okay.
if we buy something this year,
Yeah.
we get 13 years of having that piece of equipment before we have to
Okay.
rotate it out of service.
Okay, anyway, that's where I'm coming from, is I would like to see,
There is an itemized list, it's inside the spreadsheet, so I can pull it out for you.
okay. Yeah, I would not be able to vote yes on the budget today. I would wanna see, so, I haven't had time since yesterday I met with you
Yep.
and got a whole bunch of really good information. But I haven't had time to digest any of it, and we just got more today, so.
Yeah, just to address a few of your concerns for the record, some of the increases is due to the inflation. We did work up fuel costs, so when we budgeted in 2022, fuel costs were $3.43. Now they're $5.39.
But I don't have a problem with any of that. Where I had the problems, as I told you before, is that there seem to be some inconsistencies in here with like the health insurance and with the payroll taxes. And
And it was all been fixed, if you look at page 17, they
it's,
weren't adding up from the prior. Spreadsheets, whoever copied and I don't know, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but they weren't linked to anything anymore, and I was going off of the budget report from last year.
Mhm.
The numbers that were in there, and when I reran the actuals from the last 2 years. The numbers were different than what was put in the budget report last year, and I was just going off of, well, they must have run a report, but things may have changed. Between now and then. as
well, I've seen you make the corrections and Jessica, like, don't think for a second that I'm finding fault with anything you're doing, because I'm not. My point being is that, it took me all day Saturday to get this information to where I could use it and where I needed it to be. And so when you have changes that, the things I pointed out to you yesterday with the health insurance and all that kind of stuff. And the issues that things just weren't right. I haven't implemented those into this yet. And so once I get all the updated information in here, this bottom line might change. I'm sure it will. So that's what I'm saying is that I can't, this is how. I gotta see a budget based on actual, not a budget that was based on a previous budget. Because the previous budget is useless. It's,
I don't think we based.
So we're not basing the budget based on the previous.
well, what you're saying in your percentages up there saying.
Yeah, but that's just to show how much it's increasing.
But it's
we-
not showing how much, it shows how much it increased over the last budget. It's
Yes.
not showing how much it increased over the actuals. The actuals.
Well, the
is what
actual,
matters.
it actually doesn't increase at all. It's straight on with the actuals, if you do the math.
What do you mean?
It is exactly, it's like to $5,000 to what the actuals are. I did the math.
What are you talking about?
Last year's budget, you mean?
To the actuals, this budget is $5,000 more than the actuals from last year. I did the math. It's
I got 200,000.
I got $2,062,750 is what we're actually spent this year.
Where'd you get that figure from?
By doing the math in the consolidated expenses, if you do. This number here and you
But how
divide,
could the consolidated expenses be right if we had errors in the actual?
but what,
Because the errors
the errors in the actual from
last
old
fiscal year,
or from
we're
last.
not referencing those at all in the projected.
You can see what was changed in the consolidated expenses here in yellow. It's all from 21, 22. This stuff here I took this number. And I divided by. 11 multiplied by 12, and it's basically the same number, and then this number here was already correct, so this is $500,000 in extra salaries and labor expenses, that's really stuff we don't have any control over. And then this is spot on with what we had actuals.
What do you have as projected, 5.5
For total,
for 223. There's 5,083,000. Add one more month, I get 5.5.
Divide by 11 and multiply.
Yeah,
by
by 12, and I get.
I didn't do it, I just did
Well,
the
not only that, but the.
non-labor.
A lot of the government regulations, these are annual, and we're not gonna be, that doesn't factor into June, so.
So it's, we still don't have a guess.
Yeah, a lot of these you're gonna do that too.
I don't know.
But I mean, things like salaries and all the costs associated with that. You would,
In
The top
reality,
portion, you could legitimize dividing it by 11 times it by 12 and getting, but that would just be for wages and benefit expense. The bottom part, that's not that cut and dry.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
like a lot of the big ticket items are annual
Right.
fees. And that gets paid once a year, and that's done like, well, even PERS, you wouldn't be. The PERS UAL, the 517,000, you can't do that, that's only once a year,
but there's, if you're looking at this year, there's a lot of.
I get it, but it's really low.
Of expenses, of salaries that you got charged to the mosquito fire.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in there as well. So
Correct.
that's included in there, so if you have that in there, when you're comparing it to what the budget is, that's.
But some of that is
That's
also
incorrect.
some of that is also the salary increases. We're at 4%.
No, I understand that. All I'm saying is that,
What I can do for you though is give you that spreadsheet in Excel. So that you can move the departments around and total it out and see how much salaries for the mosquito fire.
well, you already gave me that.
I
Yeah.
did, but I can send that to you in Excel so you can manipulate it,
Okay,
because it's by date, it's not by department.
all right, we can try that if you want.
And then you can see what the big difference is, I mean, it's 200 grand over the entire district.
Right, no, I understand that. My biggest thing is that I wanna see,
And we don't know for sure that we're gonna get paid back for that yet, I mean,
for the mosquito fire,
we don't have.
which is another reason why it shouldn't be in the operating budget.
But it has to be in the operating budget. You can't have something out of there's no reserve like account that we have within Tyler to pay a bill from. So you have to pay it from an account that we have, and then it gets reimbursed out of reserves after that. So it has to go into the operating budget. There's no other way of doing.
But the amount of, let's say from the mosquito fires, it's just about exactly 200,000.
Yes,
Okay, so if you take that 200,000. Right now, that's been deducted from operating, from your money. From your operating money, okay, that's been paid, that's been deducted from that. Now, what needs to happen is. The operating budget needs to be. Replenished. Take that 200,000 out, say CIP, that's an existing account. Take the 200,000 out of CIP to put it in operating.
yeah, but that's what we're doing. It's just, you're not seeing it on the paper. It's what happens in real life. It just doesn't, you don't see it on the paper. We're showing you what we're actually spending.
Right.
We're not showing you how we're reconciling it at the end. There's no way of showing you how you reconcile that until the audit is done.
Okay,
Because the audit is going to tell us that you were $200,000 less that you can put back into your reserve.
I think the question he's saying is, if we are budgeting next year that has that mosquito fire 280,000 in it, that should be
It's,
lowered by that amount.
but it's not. I know the actuals are the same, but most of the increases come from salary increases. There's $500,000 in increased salary expenses that comes from both the salaries, that comes from workers' comp, that
Okay.
comes from
I understand all that, but what I'm saying is that if you go and say. That we are this budget is gonna be a 3% increase to. The actuals for this year,
yes.
okay? There's 200,000. In there, that's not gonna be 3%, that's gonna affect how much percent higher. You see what I'm saying? If you take that 200,000 out. And then do your comparison.
between the budget and the actuals.
Sure,
That 200,000 is gonna throw the actuals off to what they normally would be.
yeah, no, I,
And so the percentage where you say, okay, we're only 6% higher, we're only 3% higher, whatever. That's not accurate because of that 200,000 sitting there.
I completely follow what you're saying. You can't take the money out of your expenses, though. Like, that's what I'm trying to say, is there's no, we could expense it to CIP.
Mhm.
That would be, we could totally do that, but there's no like emergency expense fund that we could expense it to. And so when we expense something to the budget, we have an account that it's from, so we can still track it. Because when we're spending money up in the upper ditch, we're still having to buy things that are for 5,100. But then we have a special code that we expense it to.
Right, I don't know if we're saying the same thing, but the operating, I hate to use budget because it's not budget. The money you guys have to operate the district has to be protected. It has to remain intact. It can't be like you take 200,000 out of this. Okay, so then what happens? Say we have an emergency and you have your operating reserve in there. The operating reserve is supposed to be to help you get through times while you're waiting for money to come in, not for emergencies.
Yes.
So you have operating reserve in there. We, God forbid, we have a huge emergency, takes $2 million, okay, out of there. Okay, well now, if that fund has been depleted, that $2 million, and you're waiting for the money to come from the county,
Yes.
and you're not gonna make payroll.
No, I totally understand that, and that money, so the emergency fund is the reserve account that we have, and right now we'll call it LAIF because it's in LAIF. So that would be the emergency fund.
What fund is that? Are you talking about the savings account?
No, it's another account that we have that we can pull money out of as we need it in an emergency.
And where'd that money come, what?
That's just the money the district has gathered surplus over the years. $7.5 million. That would be the various emergency reserve accounts.
Okay.
So for Stumpy, there's money for Stumpy in there, there's money for the different districts in there.
Okay,
There's ultimately money for, if we had a $2 million expense, that's where it would come from.
okay.
And the 1.465 that you had as the annual fund transfer last year is what's in the savings. That's what we draw off of for day-to-day operations.
Right. The savings in the check.
Checking is at a point of sale balance.
Right.
We keep a $20,000 buffer in there for fees and charges, but every time we do payroll, I transfer money from the savings to the checking. Every time we have accounts payable checks that you sign, I transfer that amount from the savings to the checking. So it matches all the journal entries going in and out. So technically, even though we have more than 1.465 because of revenue streams, that savings account is that 180-day reserve.
And
Right,
when
right.
you say, when you're saying that there's an emergency reserve that we should be paying this $200,000 of, we kind of are, we just, when we get the audit, we will just be putting less into that emergency reserve at the end of the year.
Right.
So ultimately, it comes out of the emergency reserve, but it doesn't, we don't pull it out unless we absolutely need it.
But we haven't been putting the money in the emergency reserve, we've been putting it in the CIP. The surplus money.
Yeah. It was.
Correct.
I mean, on paper, but it's all in the same place.
And so we will ultimately put less into CIP. Or we can take money out of the reserve if we want to continue to do the CIP.
And that'll be more determinant after the audit
And
is finalized.
that, and then also the CIP. Not to totally change subjects, will be determined based on if we get any of the grants, which will help offset some of those costs. So hopefully our CIP costs aren't as high as they have been in the past, where we're expending just a straight $1 million and we're not getting anything back.
Yeah, but for all these years, we've been putting in $1 million plus into CIP. And I don't see that being anywhere near that. It just went from $1 million plus down to.
Yeah, but it was 800,000 last year.
It was what?
800,000 is what, was it 800,000 last year?
1.5.
That was the year before that. That was the year before
Well, no,
that.
they voted to do 180 days instead of 120, it was 120, it was 150. And the vote was between 120 and 180.
And you
And the
guys
one
went up
twenty
to
was the
180.
800,000 and the 180
Right,
was the
but that was done with
1.465.
surplus funds. The total amount of surplus funds is over $1 million, and they took some of it and put it into operating reserves and the rest of it into CIP.
Sure.
Okay, my point being is that every year. Since this new rate increase in 2018, we have been having sometimes well over $1 million. Of surplus funds that we can do whatever with.
Sure.
Well, we also have a lot less staff too. And I
About
think
a
the
lot less.
the frozen rates has finally started catching up with us. Well,
Yeah,
Well, and I understand there's, but not that much at once. How do you go from over $1 million to like 200,000?
but that wasn't necessarily surplus. That's what you decided to put into a reserve. We have $7 million in an investment account. Was that, I didn't,
The audit,
that's not the
after
number. I
the
got.
audit, after the audit, it says, okay, here's how much surplus money you have. Okay, and it's like I said, it's been over $1 million every year. And so now we're going from having over $1 million surplus to only having a couple $100,000.
Can we go back and find the actual audit so we know the number?
Yeah, I'm looking. It was 1.47 million.
That was transferred. That's not what the audit said.
I think the audit said 1.8, maybe, or 1.2. There's two different.
Yeah,
okay.
I think one would too.
I'd like to open it up from some fresh blood, Chairman Miller.
The board
Thank
still
you.
has to talk, Chairman Miller. The board still.
I guess I don't understand your premise when you said that the budget is based on a budget. The budget on this document, all the pages of it shows the actual expenditures all the way through from 2021.
Look under the last column on the consolidated expenses. And it'll tell you, they're referencing this budget as compared to the last budget.
We're just trying to show how much it's increasing from a budget, from last year's budget to this year's budget. That's,
I know, but
But there's also.
but that's not, we're not like we're not referencing last budget. We're trying to show that the budget amounts are going up.
But
From-
to me, it doesn't matter what the previous budget said. What matters is what the actuals as a result of that budget say.
But.
Because that's the actual costs. Okay, if you say, okay, this cost is going up 6%
Yeah.
over what we spent last year. I don't care if it goes up 6% over last year's budget, because last year's budget doesn't.
But it's going
mean
up less,
anything.
it's going up less.
Huh?
It's going up less over what we're actually spending this year.
What's going up less?
Like we've
The
spent
budget
this
is
year in our
less than the
budget.
actual, that it's. The percentage of from budget to budget is higher than from actuals to budget. So we're actually trying to show that. In costs are going up more in the actuals it's reflected in the actuals.
But that's not what you're referencing. You're referencing the budget.
Yeah, because that's what, when you look at a district, you look at what was budgeted last year. And then how much you're increasing from last year's budget to this year's budget.
I disagree.
Yeah, so.
Jim.
For the state, we have to provide our budget, and the state looks at our budget from year to year. The audit provides the actual, so there's a difference between what we do with our budget and what we actually do with the actuals. That's reflected in the audit. What we have to do to the state every year is the budget, so the county's gonna look at our budget, the state's gonna look at our budget. LAFCO is gonna look at our budget, they're gonna look at the percent increase in our budget every year, because that shows the ability for the board to meet changing cost. And that's also going to show the change that's needed for rate increases.
But
Now, we know we do base the budget on the actuals. But the only thing we have to look at in the past, because the actuals never actually match the budget unless you're Nostradamus and you get it 100% accurate. So those aren't gonna actually be accurate, but let's say we know, all right, we budgeted, let's say $50,000 for fuel, and we know there was that increase and it went up to 70,000. Now budgeting next year, we know we have to increase, and that's why we did the monthly to see how much we're increasing in the monthly. So we're not just doing we're gonna go a blanket 14%, we actually know a better percentage, so.
I understand all of that.
But it's always gonna show
I-
a relationship to the other budget, you kind of.
I guess I really suck. I'm trying to explain what's going on in my head. I don't even understand half the time. Okay, you had a budget last year. Okay, say for example, that budget was like ridiculously high.
Right,
Okay, and you didn't spend what anywhere near what was in the budget. Okay, now you got this year's budget coming up. Okay, so now you're gonna say, oh, okay, well, last time we budgeted 100,000. We don't know that we only spent 20,000, but we're saying, okay, well, this budget now is gonna be 3% higher than the last budget.
now, we've been budgeting off of the actuals, I'm pretty sure that's what the finance committee has.
Can I jump in real quick? I don't wanna cut you off, but I wanna see if I can maybe do this a little different. So I ran the numbers and based on what we actually spent. We budgeted about 4%, actually about 3.5% higher than what we actually spent
For this year.
for this year.
Okay.
If you take out the 200,000, it's about 6% higher. What I'm trying to show you by saying from last year's budget to this year's budget is it's an 11% increase in the budget. So we're going over where we budgeted last year by 11%, and much of that has nothing to do with the fire. It has nothing to do with other expenses that are being in the budget. It's just in general where costs are going up. You can see that 10% is just in non-labor expenses, and we're not even including all of the overtime where we
Okay.
but I'm trying to
I
explain.
understand exactly what you're saying. I understand costs go up. I understand that there's gonna be a 4% increase over salaries or whatever. I understand all of that. What I'm saying is that it does absolutely no good to reference increase or decrease or anything of the last budget. It needs to reference the actuals. Now, you're saying, okay, the actuals for this year were pretty close to budget. Yeah, but the actuals for this year include the fire expenses.
And I pulled that out, and it's still 6%. So it's
Not on this sheet.
between 3% with the fire expenses
Mhm,
more that we're budgeting 3% more.
mhm.
And it's 6% if you pull it out. What I would like you to look at is you're saying you want us to look, I get the column, you don't like the column. Don't look at the column anymore.
You can change that.
But
column.
understand
Understand
that that column is part of what has always been here. So that column, that column's been there for years. So we're just making sure that that column stays there. But we also have to see that 10% is labor. So this is, you're trying to say we can't look at the old budget and based on an old budget. We're not. We're not, we did not look at the numbers from last year and say, okay, we want that same amount of money. We are looking at what is realistic costs for the district's salaries, overtime, insurance, all that stuff. And those costs have gone up by 10%. So that's why this is still on point with actuals, even though if you pulled out that $200,000, it's still higher. Those percentages, like I said, it's 4% just in salaries. So I understand you don't like the column, but you can't, we're not basing, we're not.
You're focusing on the column. I'm focusing on the actuals. I wanna know how much did we spend this year on just normal district operations?
Minus
$200,000.
$200,000. But you can't do it that way because you have to have an account to charge things to.
Here's what's a hypothetical, I guess. So the spreadsheet I give you that lists out every single charge that we are, that's in the system right now.
Let's.
You could add those up because the departments are listed and remove that from the totals of each department. And that'll give you an idea of if there was never a fire, what our actual would be. But we still have people working every day and repairing things every day. There's no guarantee that we're getting that money back. So these are the budget to actuals for this. We actually had a fire. We actually had boots on the ground working overtime. There were actual
As-
expenditures that we may not get reimbursed for.
Here's the bottom line.
But the
As a
problem is.
member of the board, I have a fiduciary responsibility to be satisfied myself, to be satisfied with everything I'm seeing on here. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. It doesn't seem right to me, you know, and so it needs to be right to me. I wanna know the actuals for last year and for this year, we can't get because we're a month behind. But that's what I wanna see, and I know that you can sit there and you can say, okay, look at these figures, look at these figures. I haven't had a chance to look at them because we've been updated.
No, I understand. I think where we're talking past each other a little bit in. You're trying to say that the fire expenses shouldn't be in here. And I don't necessarily.
That's not the root, that's not the root issue. Yeah, they shouldn't be in there, but I wanna know what the actuals are. So what I did was I went back and looked at the 2021 to last year's actuals. Okay, well, then I found there was a whole bunch of inconsistencies that have since been corrected and updated.
Because you pointed them out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I haven't had a chance to put those in this.
And you need to, you need to communicate with my boss more about getting more information for me, because I could have saved you a whole Saturday. By just sending you reports. And then you could have built off of that too. So going forward, with Nick's permission, we can provide those to you.
Yeah, well, see, I wanted to add the two columns. Well, I wanted to add the two columns for the actuals to compare these numbers to the actuals of last year and this year. So that's what I did.
I look down at I think in principle, everybody totally agrees with you.
I
Go
think,
ahead, Don.
you know, since I've been in here, I've looked at previous budgets and found numbers just sort of thrown in and they weren't real. That's when I came in here. That's how the budget was put together. I'm not talking this year's, I'm not talking, well, part of last
I
year.
can run a report to back.
No, I have to say it, but previously, numbers were just thrown in and we called them on it. You know, when you have $90,000 in office supplies for the treatment plant that doesn't have used paper or whatever. It's a little ridiculous.
Well, I did give him.
Well, no, but I'm just saying. So-
Actually,
So what we're looking at is trying to move on from somebody who just made a budget, threw numbers in, to actually growing. We're trying to move ahead here and actually have numbers that we can point back and forth of where they're at. And I understand some of, you know, his frustration. I mean, I'm still looking at this going, there's numbers in here that pisses me off because it shouldn't be where it's at and should be drilled down to where it is. Because I know what a lot of these things are. But the thing is, I don't know where to get him out of that hole, but like I said, bottom line is, we're trying to look at every one of these numbers that are budgeted for the year. And do we need this amount or don't we? Granted, we spent $10,000 last year, but did we waste it or did we actually use it efficiently, effectively, and went past that? And then do we really need 10% more of that number? I mean, because that's where we're spending my money here, you know, as a customer to make this thing run. And I think, you know, we need to take a really serious look at it. I tend to nitpick shit out of this stuff because I don't think we're spending it as efficiently as we should be. You know, but that's personal, that's coming from working in a wastewater treatment plant, knowing how much we can blow and not do it. But the budgets are run from last year's budget, you add things on top of it, and you work the two budgets. That's the way they work, and it sucks. But that's how cities.
$20,000.
Yeah.
So far this fiscal year out of this last budget.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's what I'm saying. So I mean, that's how cities, counties, and you have to hurry up, use it all up or you lose it. That was how it always was when I worked. So.
And we're not budgeting based on use it or lose it. There are things.
So don't go down that path. All I'm saying is now we need to look and see, do we need $14,000 or actually it comes out to almost $30,000 in lab fees that kind of pisses the dog crap out of me that we're spending that kind of money and have other fluff numbers that cover the same thing. But that's just me. I'm looking to try to, okay, drill them together and what is a real number here?
Well, I can pretty much stand behind all the one ahead of this. So labor expenses,
Yeah,
yeah, government regulation fees. That's kind of.
but $14,000 is lab fees that aren't government regulation fees.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
We
They
have,
are lab tests that had to go out. Granted, the results have to be put in there and compiled to go to the state to be allowed that we don't get violated. But they can be tweaked, things can be changed and fixed.
yeah, there, you may save costs, you may increase costs by,
I mean, those lab fees, I mean, some people lab fees, I mean, those are set what we test. I mean, those don't.
She's not questioning what we test, it's the cost.
Cost of the lab, you got a biocheck fees that are there.
Director Saunders, Mr. Miller, he's got a question.
Yep, the board goes first, so that's so,
Go.
so, one of the things is, we did go through mosquito fire and our budget needs to kind of show the impact of that, especially that's that snapshot in time. So when you look back in the past, you can kind of determine the difference on, that's also gonna help in terms of litigation and all of that stuff, so the impact of mosquito fire kind of is gonna show up in there. And it may follow us for several years. It's not just gonna be a one-year thing. We're gonna have landslides, we're gonna have erosions. We're gonna have to dredge the treatment plant reservoirs probably, so this is something that we're gonna be dealing with forever. So it's unfortunately not gonna be a one-time impact. In terms of the reorganization, we have 2 treatment plant operators. Each treatment plant has to be on call. That means 2 people have to be on call forever. That's wrong. We need a 3rd person to cover them. That's just, you can't be on call every weekend. That just should not exist. And the downside of us saving that $61,000 is if they finally get fed up of working every weekend, they leave, then we have nobody. And then we go through the increased costs of now we have to hire out and get it. We've seen what happens when you don't provide the actual cost or service and you have to then temp it out. That's why our budget is so inflated from all of the temporary and extra employees we've had before. So, I mean, that's one thing that they've brought up since I've been on the board year 1, and this is year 5, and that's something that really needs to be done. I mean, that's not right at all.
Well taken, Director Stovall.
I took a similar look, but a different angle from Director Thornburg. I looked at the revenue and basically did a spreadsheet just like he did, because that's the way I think. And by me doing it, it helped me understand what was going on. So to me, it wasn't a waste of time. And so I actually looked at actions from, FY 17-18, and I'll leave it up to Chairman Miller to talk about how he came up with this budget, because he basically totally ignored what happened during the fiscal year because it was abnormal. And we completely focused on the previous actual year. That was the foundation that we worked on as a budget. The thing that I looked at, which seems opposite of what you saw, is that I looked at the revenue budget and the revenue budget of what was sent out to the board, not the one that we got today, was 6.723 million generated in revenue. When I look at the capital improvement plan, it seems that, well, first of all, the revenue was $6.723 million. However, the expenses came to $5.785 million. So what I see in there is roughly $1 million, $937,000 between revenue and income, which I expect will go into the CIP. That's where you and I are just going off in different directions.
That's because
this 6.7 is not 6.7. This is 6.0 because this includes the $650,000 supplemental fee that they took in. So if you take that out of it,
Around 300.
you're about $300.
Yeah, he's right.
Okay, because I mean, it's a little different than what you brought.
Yeah, and so that's what, that
I'm
was
trying to
the,
do is compare apples with apples from.
the adjustment would be to move that out of there, so it doesn't
Right.
show as.
Yeah, see,
Revenue.
it threw you off.
I'll just,
And that's a good example of why, like you, I'm not ready to approve it. There's been missing chunks, and that's a no. I need to kind of look at this again.
Thank you.
I'd
Chairman.
like to, yeah, Chairman. no.
Yes.
To your point, and thank you, Robert. I started this budget process, and the first thing I said is I looked at a chart like that. And I said, ignore the orange chart.
Yeah.
I said, look at 21-22 as a normal year. And look at where we are in the actuals year to date in every one of those lines. And I said, recognize you're looking at a 2-year jump, not a 1-year, so don't get too freaked out if it's a little bit more than it was between 21 and 22 and 22 and 23. So what I said was, that's an anomaly year. This last year, this year has been an anomaly year through to 23. So I said, look at that one and look at that one, and if there's something that looks really out of whack, those are the things that we want to question. And that's exactly what we did. But we also recognized that some of those numbers got big, particularly in the upper half of every one of those charts because of salaries and the cost of having employees. And we said, okay, that makes sense to us. And that's how we came to where we came to an agreement on the staff and the budget, the finance committee. I mean, we didn't just say we built it on that orange column. We ignored that orange column.
That's
So that's
exactly
great.
what you just said is exactly what I did.
Me too.
Exactly.
What the committee did.
And we had the discussions, we had a room full of people. We said, gee, this one seems to be kind of out of whack. And we got the rationale for it being out of whack, and we either accepted it or we didn't. And that's the budget process, as far as I'm concerned, and every budget I've ever done. I don't care what you projected last year, I care what you spent.
Exactly.
But I have to recognize that there's been a whole hell of a big change in our economy in the last 2 years. So I can't look at that and say, well, you know, I got the same amount of money in, but I don't have all this left over for CIP. Well, that's because I spent it on gasoline, I spent it on food, I spent it on employees, I spent it on the government's charges, I spent it on all the things that you and I experience in our household. Is no different than a business. You know, I mean, I bought my last truck for brand new for $25,000. I can't touch the same truck for less than 50 now. So you got to realize that life is changing in terms of where we are going, but revenue isn't changing because we have revenue fees. We have to increase our fees with the permission of the world. We can't just do like, you know, Wesson Oil says, well, gee, you know, we're going to raise our prices to X, and they just raise their prices. We don't have that pleasure. We don't have that capability. And so when you look at what the economy's done in terms of the price of everything, and then you look at it and say, well, we're getting the same amount of income every year, and now all of a sudden we don't have as much left over for CIP or wherever else we want to put it. That came as no surprise to me.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. What I'm saying is, why so much change between the audit from, well, when was the last?
21, you're looking at the audit from 2021, so
2021.
2 years ago, so.
Okay, now, why did it go from over $1 million to down to a couple of 100,000 projected for last year?
Can I ask,
We're all, yeah, there's gonna be an increase, I understand that.
can I ask a hypothetical question to you?
Sure.
if the audit comes back and it's $650,000, would that dispel some of your suspicions?
That would be less, I don't know that I have suspicions.
Well,
That
not
would-
suspicion,
That
maybe
would be
that-
less of a shock,
Yeah,
okay?
so I'm, what I guess I'm trying to get at is would that show maybe some of the increases that we're showing in our increased costs?
I just recently got all these updated sheets. So.
I totally-
So I don't know, because. With the sheets that I originally did all this with, the actuals for 21 to 22, which is the main one I was looking at. Because that did not have the mosquito fire. Okay, the actuals of that are gonna be different than what I have in here now.
Oh, I totally understand, and I'm not.
So the numbers that I'm saying now, because this was from Saturday.
Can I just,
Okay.
I'm not pushing for you guys to approve this today. If you guys want to table this, I will totally be in agreement with you. I want to make sure I'm answering all your questions. So I'm not trying to, I hope you don't think I'm trying to fight,
Oh, no,
or I just want to make sure.
Sometimes when I get excited, I come across.
You're fine.
being Pissed off as hell.
Yeah.
I'm just excited, well, except you're the exception to that. Usually when I'm talking to you, I'm pissed off. So. But anyway, you guys, I mean, you, Adam, Jessica have been awesome through all this. And, you know, and been extremely transparent, willing to address any concerns that we have or I have. And I mean, you sat down with me for 2 hours yesterday and no, it's great. So don't take any of this personal. This is just what I feel like I should be doing as an elected board member.
I don't like it either, if it's
So-
any consolation. I don't like that the numbers are going up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I expect them to go up. I expect them to go up, but not as much as this information told me it was.
Sure.
Now I have to go through and update all of this. I mean, I didn't even have an updated 5300, so
Well, we can give you all these charts so you can work them and you.
I'm already on.
Yeah,
I'm
my
already
proposal is
vested.
that we bring this back, since in light that we have, new information that we got today, so the board can
If you,
continue looking at this.
would you like to schedule for, so there's Tuesday next week, which would be the 20th. That would
Tuesday
be,
is about it, because.
or we could
As long
do,
as it's not your excuse you're gonna use to get out of my lunch.
I-
You can have lunch here in the office.
I have lunch with Director Stovall that day, so.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay then.
I probably
Uh,
cancel. because
Then he
I
can
think my
cancel
granddaughter to talk.
Oh.
Well, we could do it, the 21st. Would you guys like to do it on the
No, we're gone.
21st?
Well, we-
Oh, you're gone, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, let's shoot for next Tuesday.
Okay, my only, I will be at, PCWA until 1 o'clock, so I should be able to make it here by 2:30.
And if I could get out of jury duty, I'll be here.
Well, what about,
And I think it's important for the board members, as many of them as possible, to be here, so
okay, so what day are you looking at?
we could do the 19th if the 19th works.
Wait,
That's the
you
Monday.
said what? You said the 20th.
Well, the night that, but then he has jury duty,
Well, I gotta call the night before and find out, so
When?
so
I would have jury duty on the 20th and I'm trying to get out so I can go to the.
Oh.
But I don't know what's going on the 20th.
What's the thing that you guys are going to?
21, 22.
So the 19th would be doable, the 20th, if you get out of jury duty, the 23rd. Okay,
Oh, that sounds like the 19th would be okay with, let me see, how
Yeah.
many times that give us?
Monday, no, 5 days.
I think we're open on the 19th. Are you guys
Okay.
open on the 19th?
Yeah, we don't celebrate Juneteenth.
Oh, that's
Yes.
Juneteenth.
That's
Juneteenth, yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday,
That's a
Juneteenth.
holiday.
It's a federal.
It's a federal holiday now,
I don't get them anymore.
So is
yeah.
that-
So there's nothing on our staff, on the staff calendars.
It is federal holiday then?
It just got put in last year, yes.
Great.
So you
But
guys aren't even gonna be
The
there?
state,
We don't celebrate that, it's not in our MOU.
we'll be here,
Oh,
Oh.
oh, okay.
we'll be
Yeah, I
here,
know.
The 19th then?
the 19th, if you want to do the, so we could do any time on the 19th, if you want to do it earlier.
Means we just go longer if we do it.
Well, we could go like 10 o'clock if you want to do 10 o'clock,
I'll do 11.
11.
Oh, We're gonna get hungry, so we'll get out.
What time was that?
19.
On the 19th, at 11, if you want to do that.
Is it a working lunch? Yeah.
Okay, so the night.
I mean,
I don't know, that could be Director Thornborough's lunch for the week.
All the ones you
Great.
did with me,
Okay.
you paid them.
Couple comments.
Okay. you got-
Hold on.
Okay.
Can we get this done, the 19th, 11th?
19th and 11th.
That's a board meeting,
It'll be a board meeting, yes.
Okay, so we'll go on
Let's
that.
call it.
11 a.m.
Can we jump all over
Why
you?
don't you turn that thing up?
What's, whose phone is that?
You're saying 11 a.m.
Yeah,
So we could go,
That was
to-
my.
so if we go to 7, we get 8 hours.
Okay.
So can I sit down?
Please, it's not writing on the table at the water.
we're meeting at 11, okay.
Can we, everybody okay with the 11 o'clock on the 19th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So was that part of the motion or just?
I think you have to, let's take a
Oh,
comment.
another comment out there. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what Mike T was saying, I agree, and even a couple of years ago, someone mentioned having an emergency reserve account. And then have a separate account that you transfer it to, that's separate kind of, that would show in and out, credit and debit. And that is one thing, and they did put 1.4 million into the CIP left. That's what was supposed to be transferred for that had nothing to do with the 6 months budget thing. From what I read in the thing.
It was the annual fund transfer.
Right. Yeah, and that was for the CIP.
We have to look at the audit, what the audit said, so we can understand how much the audit.
Well, no,
said.
this was done at the time of the budget
Yeah.
last year.
I understand.
So that never got transferred.
No, it did, because I
I
did.
didn't know we said it
Okay.
didn't get transferred.
Okay,
It's based on the audit. That money is based on how much the auditors say that you can transfer. It's not just an arbitrary number that the district came up with. You have to look at what the auditor says, and so I have to go look back and look at the audit report.
well, also because it came up in the budget.
And then the board,
And then they were short 400,000 to do the complete 1.8 million CIP, right? I remember that. Okay, part of the thing you're not getting in this budget is the current employee salary and wages and benefits. You're only getting what he's gonna project that he wants to increase everybody's salaries to. You don't see what they're being paid as of today. So you can make a comparison because employee costs are 63% of this budget, this new proposed budget.
Well, that's not anything that we have any control over, and
Well, it is.
not really, because
Okay, well, that here we don't have. it.
Yeah.
the MO, but wait, hang on, because I'd like to correct the record on that. The MOU is not something that we have any control over.
We're not talking about it.
Yeah, but you're talking about the increasing of the cost, and I'm doing it arbitrarily, and I'm not doing it arbitrarily.
You don't have MO.
That's why it would.
The MOU continues if you don't renew the MOU. So there is an
But
MOU,
you don't have the update.
but that doesn't,
Okay.
hold on. There doesn't have to be an updated MOU to have the same things in place. So that's not fair to characterize it that way.
No, I know that, but.
But that's what you're,
But why isn't the current employee salary and benefits in here so you can compare it to what you want to bring it up to?
I mean, that's what our.
Because we're
budget is.
Well, I know it's a projection, but it shouldn't, okay, for example, the ops manager from what the records I got is paid 115,000 a year as of the end of last year. And you're gonna bring him up to 136,000 in 1 year?
it's based on a percentage.
But do they go through the tiers, the steps? There's nothing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
somebody do 5 steps in a year? That's, I'm just saying you need to see it all.
Let me intervene quick. Okay, here's what I think would be a real simple solution. You print it out, what salaries are.
We'll give you what the salaries are and we'll put it in there.
You
That's
have
fine.
it.
There you go.
It's public record
No,
and
you have to project
you,
it.
Ms. Carlin, we gave you
Yeah.
what the current salaries are.
When
You received it as a PRA.
I did, but the board didn't.
Well, if
What does the-
you received it, then what's the issue?
I'm just saying that you as the board should have that to compare.
Okay, here's what I'm saying, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Is I do not like your insinuation.
I'm not insinuating.
Yes, you are, the way that you phrased it, and the way that you said it was, to me, an attack on the staff. And insinuating that there would go and just give people raises without any kind of transparency.
Okay, but what's the guidelines on raises? There's nothing in
It's
there.
absolutely in the MOU.
It has steps.
No.
And it also has it also has a COLA that's related to the CPI.
But
And the
when
full
does
is
somebody go from
55.6
step
on
one to
page
step
four.
2? Is that once a year, or could that be 3 times in a year?
It is typically once a year unless someone is demonstrated an ability to work outside of one step increase. How often does a more than one step increase happen? Very rarely.
Okay, but I've never in an MOU, and we don't have an employee manual, knowing when people get increases. I'm just saying that what's here.
On their anniversary date. is
Sure, the
involved.
MOU was in the board
I
packet
know,
at
but
the
it
time
doesn't
it
say
came.
when they get, you could go from step 1 to step 5
No,
in a
no.
year if somebody wanted to do it.
Isn't the whole,
No,
isn't the whole range rate rose up?
Yeah,
You don't
it's-
go to steps?
for the COLA, yeah,
Yeah,
but that's, I understand that.
Are you assuming that we do that the staff receives a step 1 to step 5 increase?
I have no idea because I don't see it written down anywhere where the timeline.
It's
It's their anniversary
it's in MOU. It's their anniversary.
It actually says that in the-
Yes.
Right, but it's not anything I've ever seen.
They don't
And I've
get
asked that
step of the
question
job,
for
they're
years.
not offered a step.
And it was in the board packet when the MOU came up,
I'll go back and try to
the
find it.
entire MOU.
Okay, but that's not my point. It's like, I think to be clear, you should have a current salary list and the projected salary list. You have like an actual budget and you have a projection
If
budget.
that's what you want, they'll give it to you. You take some, you
Well, I mean, I think the board, because every amount of money that you increase in this budget, next year is gonna go in that rate increase.
But it is in here under
We-
salaries and all the expenses. It's in here broken down, and it's even in here more consolidated on the consolidated expenses sheet.
Okay, but we'll.
It's
just see
right
that
there.
When you do the
Just
rate
look.
study.
You're assuming that we have control over,
You do
we have control over salaries?
some of it, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We don't need to
Just stop,
discuss
just
it.
stop.
okay,
Just stop.
we have a motion from Director Saunders to table this till the 19th at 11 o'clock. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes to move this to the 19th at 11 a.m. Okay. Item B, 9B, consider adoption of the policy 4030 Board of Directors compensation, expense reimbursement and travel allowance. Nicholas, would you mind
Yes.
spelling that out as far as, and actually what is travel versus mileage versus hotel?
So this, and I will, unfortunately, there's a small typo that I found in the staff report. So before I go into my explanation, I'd like to go, if you can all just go to where it says fiscal impact. It should say $17,500, not $17,650. I apparently have fat fingers. So please
That's the
understand.
guy who did it.
So this is, the policy committee met in regard to the travel policy and how the board, gets reimbursed based on travel. And the changes are seen as the red line copy of the policy that are included with the, with the item. What we're ultimately trying to do here is add in a budget item this has never been budgeted for in the past. So any board member travel wasn't included in the actual line items of the budget. So we tried to come up with a number and put it into the budget so that we would have line items where we could then go back and see if we have enough budgeted for board member travel. This would cover approximately $3,500 per board member, but we're not doing it on a per board member level. It's just a fund that you all can pull from. The way I did the math was approximately $2,500 in conference costs. And then $1,000 in travel per year for each board member. Now, like I stated, not every board member may use this, and that would be up to the other board members to set the budget for the entire board. I'll turn it over to Director Saunders because he is on the policy committee. I'd like him to just discuss some of the changes that were made.
Yeah, it also talks about the compensation, so that was what was used to be called the stipends. So we changed the language so it matches the actual public utilities code. In the public utility code, it's called director's compensation. So we're going to change the language so it matches the law. And in the law, because there's people that come in every time that says, well, you shouldn't get a stipend. And it's very clear in the law that any director that does not want the compensation does not need to take the compensation. So we want it to match the law. So all of our policies match what the public utilities code is. So that's one of the other things we changed to make sure that matches that. And then we put in what the IRS mileage travel allowances is, what the state travel allowances are, and what it costs us for per diem at different places in the different places throughout the state. So when you stay at one place, the per diem may change if you're like in San Francisco, where it may be more expensive than if you're in some place like Butte or in a different county.
And that chart can be updated as they come out. So it's a per diem chart. That's a federal per diem chart that we're referencing, and it also references lodging as well.
And then one of the biggest changes that we did was it comes to the board still, so the board does approve what conferences people are going to. But the change now is that the district would automatically pay for those conference fees and travel lodging. Because for a board member to do it, it may be $2,000 or $1,700 that we have to take out of pocket to do it before we get reimbursed. They also usually hold your hotel stuff off of your credit card. So if you have a debit card, that money is gone. So we're out $2,000 and we don't get reimbursed for months. So that's like money we don't have to spend. So if you don't have the money to pay for the hotel, but you can pay for the conference, then you miss the conference block because you have to have that money up front so you don't get the discount. So this allows, if the district does it, they one, can pay for everybody all at once. Two, that gives a discounted fee when you have more people going at the same time, and it just allows things to be done a little easier. And it's the same money is gonna be passing, but it just is less onerous for the directors.
Could you explain, Nicholas? Oh,
I think there's a question. I can explain whatever you like.
sure. Oh, the difference between travel and mileage and meals.
Yeah, so any reimbursement costs are not included in that. So meals, you know, your mileage going to and from airport, or if you're driving to your event. So those are separate from the 17,500. This is only conference and lodging and stuff, and
Not airfare,
it could include airfare if you, yes, it could include airfare.
which is different than mileage if you're driving.
Correct. You get reimbursed for mileage is based on a rate. So
Yeah.
you don't get like reimbursed for the gas, you get reimbursed for your car, for putting the miles on your car.
So if you,
And whichever is cheaper.
In some instances, yes, for out of the way areas, say. We go to Monterey often because it happens to be a conference location. There's no real easy way to fly to Monterey.
Right. I
So-
mean, yeah,
So we offer a mileage as opposed to a flight, because it may be cheaper to fly there, but if you've ever.
or
wanted
take
to
two
give
days,
Director
like-
Saunders's
Yeah.
flight
Okay.
itinerary.
It's to get there, yes.
So those are, but like we just, Director McDonald, or excuse me, President McDonald, and I discussed. If a director wanted to drive to San Diego, that would not be a mileage reimbursement. We would give him the balance of what it would cost to fly and the Ubers, you know, that would be the balance of what he would receive. He would have to pay some out of his pocket if he wanted to have his car there for some reason.
right, but he doesn't get, if it is more. he doesn't get the difference.
That is correct.
Also, there is one correction that needs to be made. It's not California GSA, it's just GSA.
Where do you see that?
Page 2 of 2, it's in the appendix.
I believe there was a question from Dr. Stovall.
Just to make light of things, since this is the government population that I've lived in South Lake Tahoe for 28 years, I was abused at Hypers and Deep Bay is included, but not South Lake
Right.
Tahoe. The Fed working, but I live in Nevada.
Yeah, you don't wanna know that, it's even less.
Well, we're not included. Georgetown didn't make the list either.
Georgetown and SLT.
Any other board comment, question? Sure. Oh, Mr. Miller.
I was doing the math while you were all talking. And what I did was I took the actuals year to date for this current year, which was 10 months out of 12. I projected the 12 months out of 12 based on that number divided by 10 multiplied times 12. And I did that individually for the payroll side of the equation and the operation side of the equation. And I will tell you that the projection in the budget on both of them is almost exact to what everybody's concerned about. And so if you look at the process of the current year, projected out 2 more months, and you look at the proposed totals of the 2 sections in the budget, they're within spitting distance of each other. So this is what we're actually spending times, or, divided by 10 times 12. And it comes out, for instance, the payroll side of it is projected to be 3,683,320. If you do the multiplication, you get 3,642,946. If you do the same thing for the operations costs, you get 2,108,849. And if you do the math, you get 2,038,690. So bottom line is, regardless of what is in every one of these categories, the totals that are projected for the coming year are essentially the same as the current year. Okay.
Point taken, we'll remember that. I was told,
Just
Yeah.
food for thought.
Point,
There's only 1 more month left on that budget.
How do we get back on the budget?
We
I'd
can't.
like to look up on that comment.
because you left with a stall. Sheree, go ahead.
Oh, so the 17 that, or what was it, 17,500, was that based on just going to Aqua in Monterey or others?
So it's based upon a aqua conference, which is about $870 or so. A lodging, which is approximately between $800 and $1,000. Well, I mean, I don't know where you stay at hotels.
Well, I mean.
Well, Motel 6 is about 150.
That's just realistic. And then it's approximately, it's travel, so airfare. If you need to, Uber from an airport, or if you need to drive to an event. And then there is another event that you can also go to. So it's an aqua and a smaller event that'd be
Like a
more
CSDA
local, like a CSDA conference as an overnight or something like that.
So it's not, I'm taking, it's not based on 5 directors doing all of that.
Yeah, it's based on.
Yeah, it is. It is based on do I anticipate every director going to an aqua? No, but I have to give equal opportunity because not one director is better than the other. But everyone, it's based upon one aqua and one smaller event that's an overnight.
And I just wanted to add, I went on the cheap as low as possible. I couldn't get a booking at the Marriott, had to take a mileage back and forth to the VRBO. It was less, and by the time it was $2,300 at a VRBO, which was less than the Marriott, and even Motel 6s would have cost $700-800 instead of $900 or $1,000.
But
I'll say the
right.
What's that?
We have limits based on how.
That's
much-
why we put this in there, because there was no limits before. This is limiting things now.
Yeah.
There was no budget and there was nothing in the budget for director's travel. So directors could have basically spent whatever and it would never been accounted for. There was nothing in the budget previous to this.
Oh,
There was not a.
There was not.
There was, no, there wasn't for.
No, it was just training and.
Well, isn't that the same thing?
Well, no, but there was staff, go look at the amount that was in there. If it was, because for staff and board, there wasn't. There was no money in that account budgeted for any board member travel.
So there's not an account, you just created an account for them?
We created a special account so that we can show what the board is spending on their travel.
And
And
it's
it
in the
was,
budget, so we'll have to change that 650 to 17,500.
Yeah, that's why it was a typo. That was, it's 1750.
and it was like 25,000
Yep.
at some starting point here. a few
And we
months ago.
reduced it from $5,000 per director to $3,500 per director based on some better calculating.
And apparently got it. Okay,
And so that number will be reflected based upon the budget.
do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we accept this policy with the one correction on the appendix.
I'd like
Yeah,
to
well-
make a friendly amendment for that. When we approve this policy, it also will require us to change ordinance 2011. Because the language in that ordinance is stipend, and we are going to follow
Compensation.
the ordinance that's in, the language that's in the law, so we're gonna change stipend to compensation, so we'll have to change the ordinance.
We'll bring
Just
that back
get rid
at the
of
next.
California.
Does
That's
the
what
state
you-
change the max?
So
400?
in the ordinance describes compensation for directors are in three ways. One is total of 4,800 per year maximum.
Right.
The other way is you can get paid $100 per meeting per month. And the third way is the board has the ability to change above whatever the maximum is based on the board can change it. So there is a maximum set by the state, but a board can go above it.
I was at the conference and I talked to a few
The-
directors, excuse me, and I was just curious. And they asked me actually, and they said, you asked how much, and they were getting $600 a month.
Yes,
And I thought
and the
$48
$100 a month is based on how many meetings you attend.
Correct.
So you attend EDWA and you represent the district, so that would be 100. This would be 100. If you represent the district at other meetings, it'd be 100 as well.
The last time I read.
It's up to
the
10
ordinance, it
minutes.
said
Typically,
the
that'd be up-
maximum was 4,800, that was the max.
That's A, there's three lines, there's A, B, and C, so line C is the one that says boards can increase it, and some boards have
And is it 10 meetings for the 100?
10 meetings.
Yeah, so you can do up to, I think it's 125.
Mhm.
It's 125 per meeting and you can do up to 10 meetings per month.
And the board member I talked to, they were $600 and it was pretty much not how many meetings, it was the size of their district.
So this would be a clearer.
Well, I mean.
Well, I mean, so.
No.
and every June, every June you have the ability to change the
And some of them got
compensation.
medical benefits too.
So we got a motion on the floor with an amendment.
And do we get a second? Seconded by Director Stovall. And then the adjustment in the appendix. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes 5-0.
Can I make a comment?
Unanimously, yeah.
This policy was developed, what? 12 years ago, originally, and
Yes,
there's been no COLA.
Well, yeah.
but it's based on the public utilities.
Like how many years ago did they also get medical? So that was taken away.
That was taken away in 2011, yes.
Yeah,
Is this based
Just
on if
take out
you're going
the
to that
district.
county, that's the rate, or you're from that county?
If you're going to that
to
county.
They just found out that serving on a board makes you more sick, so
They
they couldn't afford it anymore.
okay, so now we move on to authorization to develop a public service agreement. That's what we're gonna do. Did I get a motion or any discussion?
There's just quickly, we have authorized in the upcoming budget. Wait, not authorized, excuse me, that's the wrong word. We have proposed in the upcoming budget approximately $80,000 in legal costs. This will authorize the district to enter into a contract with Best and Krieger with utilizing general counsel Frank Splendorio, and we will start a transition process from White Brenner to Best and Krieger with the board's approval.
So the only discussion I have is we can ask our new legal counsel if we don't have a motion yet. We can ask our legal counsel if it's if we're able to give the RFPs for hiring out to the boards, to the public as transparency, because I know we're not able to do that with the general manager, so we can.
I believe we do. I believe it's closed until we select one, but I will verify that. I have them already digitized and ready to go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a real estate negotiation. I
It
pulled
was
them.
closed session items, so I know.
And even Christina, do you want to maybe weigh in on that?
Yeah, the proposals are public record upon award of the contract. So once
we will
you award the contract.
with the PSA.
So you have a motion then?
I make a motion that we.
I believe we have a public comment.
Just a question, have you settled on a hourly rate yet,
It's what they submitted to us, yes.
what they submitted?
We don't really get to settle on an hourly rate. They tell us what their hourly rate is.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the RFP.
Well,
Yeah, well, we just asked, they said once it's awarded, we can release it from closed session.
Second?
Can I try again? I
Yeah.
didn't get it all out.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the general manager to execute a professional service agreement with the BBK.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0, unanimous. Finally, oh, there we go. This is for Nicholas, public hearing, Prop 4 appropriation limitation.
you have to open a public hearing.
Oh,
You have to, there you go, and the time.
now, huh?
Time.
6:15.
It's 6:15 PM. Tuesday, June 13th, open public hearing for Prop 4 appropriation limitation. Who's got that?
So this is a yearly process that we have to go through to set our appropriation limit. I will turn this over to Ms. Buckle to go over and are we gonna do first reading, I believe, of the appropriation limit resolution?
Yep, first reading.
Yeah, so this is something we do annually. Started in the fiscal year of 1981. And pretty much, you can read the staff report, but the proposition was effective. The county creates a formula for calculating the limits. To establish an appropriation limit, which is the maximum general tax revenue that can be spent, which is derived from information received from the State Department of Finance in May, which they did email over to us. We did the calculation. The change factor is based on the per capita personal income change for the year and the population change for unincorporated areas of El Dorado County. The limit for fiscal year 24 is proposed to be 3.472 million and some change. The district is always compliant with the appropriation limit, since the estimated general tax revenue for our fiscal year 24 will only be maybe 2 million. So we're not going to reach that threshold where we overspend. So copy of the resolution, the first reading is whereas the Board of Directors of the Georgetown Divide Public Utility District conduct a hearing on the appropriation limitation for the Georgetown Divide Public Utilities District on this 13th of June, 2023. And whereas the hearing was advertised and noticed as required by law, which is included in the packet. Whereas the board received testimony and other evidence regarding the appropriation to be established for the Georgetown Divided Public Utilities District, I did that. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved by the board that the directors of the Georgetown Divided Public Utility District, that the appropriations limit for fiscal year 23-24 as described in Article 13B of the state constitution implemented by Chapter 1205 statutes 1980 is the sum of computed as follows. The fiscal year 22-23 appropriation limit was set at $3,338,002. Times that by 1.04, which is a 4.04% increase. Equals $3,472,857.28. That is the limit of our spending. We only spend what we get, which is $2 million roughly. This year we get about 998.
It was 1988.
So that's what we received this last tax year, and we're estimating it to go up a little. We're gonna say 2 million. Either way, we're never gonna reach, I shouldn't say never, we could vote to incorporate the lots of low income housing up here, and then that would increase the tax revenue. It does not look like in the foreseeable future we'll ever meet that threshold, so this, it should be an easy vote. So I leave it to the board to make a decision on accepting this appropriation limit, and then we'll have a second hearing reading of this ordinance next month, where it will be adopted and then goes into effect 30 days after.
Public actually goes before us. This is the one time public goes first.
Okay.
I have a question. Can somebody tell me how the 3.472 million, where that comes from? Is that a median income for the state?
No, it has
That's
to do with how much we could get, but we don't have, our rates aren't set that high.
What is that? Because what I'm looking at, is this a way to measure basically disadvantaged communities? Because we're at
No.
7% of that.
What happens
That's what
is
I'm searching.
when a special district is created, there is a revenue appropriation based on the property taxes. So the property taxes in that district, we get 1% maximum of that based on like the 1978 to 79 revenue. So there's actually a point where we will never be able to capture all of the revenue. So it still guarantees that the county gets the majority of it, but it does set aside an amount to go to each special district in that area. So that's how it works.
Thank you. I was searching for the disadvantaged community.
So. If this would be a roll call vote, then?
No vote yet.
No vote,
Did
yeah.
you formally ask?
Oh, it's second read.
You have to ask, you have to like. Yeah, what were you asking?
For public comment?
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
Nobody, no.
so we'll just, it just, you just close the public hearing and then. We get accept comments for 30 days.
At this point, we close the public hearing at 6:24 PM. Next. Accept the board member requests for additions to future meeting agenda.
That's the ones we talked about, the ordinances that we have to put in. That's about it for me. That was it.
Yeah, we'll do the ordinance, in the next, we'll have that set for the next meeting as a public hearing, because we'll do 2 public hearings.
Nichols, you mentioned that at some point, at some meeting, we were going to give a certificate or acknowledgement to
That'll be at the July meeting.
the July
We're
meeting.
gonna do it, we're gonna acknowledge at the finance committee meeting. And then we're gonna do a final at the board meeting.
Okay. And I got one question. The per diem rates here, what if your city or county or whatever is not on here?
So it's just
A
talking
guideline?
about guidelines, it's just what they're really showing is the biggest or the most traveled to areas. That's why there's also, it says like 86.
Yeah,
There's like others that are, if you click on it, it's an actual clickable form on a website, and you can click on all of the areas. Doesn't change the rate, it just.
I was looking
changes
at
the area.
Monterey, it had ones, you know, the hotel was like $100 more
Yeah,
than here, okay.
and. Even the hotel block rate is more than the per diem rate, and so it's hard, it's a guideline.
It's a guideline, okay, because we didn't get anything kicked back, okay. Then if there's no more, I'd like to ask if someone's motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
On favor, aye.
All right.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for attending, Steve. Steve, thank you. Great, thank you.